Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Canna Bear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mels 24, Unamento, M Iron 26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
You're taking the measurement in the air, yeah, and you bring the celestial, to your horizontal plane, which is parallel to the surface.
Right. So all you are doing this, you're doing this thing, this measurement up in free space.
If you want to call that, yeah, you're flying,
yes,
yeah, or in a balloon, yeah.
Yes. So once we agree on that, George, once we agree on that, we're no longer measuring the Earth flat.
Really?
We're in space.
So you won't need 3 different ground positions for your circles of equal altitude on the surface.
You need ground positions, but I'm saying.
So you're referring to the ground then?
Yes, you need ground positions.
I don't understand what you're saying then.
Okay, I have to hone this discussion a little bit more.
Well, the whole point of doing this is for you to find out your zenith. You are lost somewhere. You want to find your position, your zenith. Meaning your zenith line, no matter your altitude, must be parallel to the ground positions or the zeniths of the other celestials that you are observing to do this triangulation. So those zeniths must be running parallel to one another. That's why the maths work the same way.
Pardon me, I am so sorry, guys. I realize y'all are having a discussion about an important topic, but hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
Oh, okay, those guys are here. Okay, we'll talk later, George.
No, Humble, you're fine. Humble, I'll actually help you with any questions I can. I just need to talk to Nathan right quick. I am so sorry. I hate that this is in the middle of your all's discussion. I am so sorry. It's just the only chance I have to talk to him. Nathan, are you around? Okay, well, I just completely destroyed a good conversation, I bet, and he's not at his computer at the moment. Humble, if you would like to continue on asking your questions, George is a very knowledgeable gentleman.
Actually, I would like to ask you this question. While you're there, John, if I'm taking a measurement up in free space of 2 celestial objects, and then I'm using that measurement that I can get in free space to do something on the Earth, can I describe that as measuring the Earth flat?
Well, see, how did you get the initial understanding of those 2 objects in free space? Right?
Oh, so when you talk about measuring the Earth flat, you're referencing to something, not what I'm doing at this point, but something that took place before.
Well, here's the thing, right? The elevation angle, the initial elevation angle, just that, right, is it's a measurement. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Now,
I'm agreeing with that.
And do you agree the elevation angle is a triangle?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so you're fully there on your acceptance, right? So we got to establish the celestial sphere before we can talk about the interactions at play within any of the celestial objects. So first, we must establish the celestial sphere. How will we do that?
Okay, okay, fair enough. Can I just ask you this quick question, because the show starts soon? The measurement, when I'm finished the whole process, the measurement that I'm concerned with, is it a measurement of two celestial objects or two celestial points?
Which measurement? The elevation angle measurement?
Okay, at the end of the process, when we put away our measuring device, our sextant, at the minute we put that away, right, we have a measurement. Is that an
Yes.
elevation angle? We have that elevation angle, but the angle that we're actually going to use to draw our circle of equal elevation, is what? It's the measurement between the two celestial
I think
objects,
I
right,
understand.
above us.
I think I understand your problem, and it's sort of like the same problem the Glober was having yesterday. And I was wanting to help him, but you're actually wanting to know, right? The thing is,
Well,
hold on, let me just tell you right quick. There is the optical plane, and that's how we experience the world around us. That's how we perceive level, right? The optical plane. But there's also the actual plane, the objective plane in which measurements are taken. And that plane is the plane we're standing on. Do you understand the differentiation between the two? I can go into it further if you don't.
okay, it's okay. You're getting a little deeper than I am right myself. But okay, so when you say that other plane, that's a plane up in free space.
What is a plane in free space?
Okay, if I'm on the ground, that's a plane. If I'm up in free space with a bubble sextant, I also have a plane.
Yes, but see, what you're describing as free space is not. Because level, the instrument on that allows it to be a bubble sextant, the level on the sextant will still be with respect to Earth. You understand?
Correct.
But yes.
So you're.
Let me go with a yes now, there. Yes.
Right. Okay. Now, the thing is about the celestials, elevation does not change their elevation angle. That's crazy when you understand what that means.
Okay, but let me ask you this question at this point then. When I get a beam, and this is why yesterday, for the first time, I think I heard a stress on the word raised, and Nathan used it with regard to the sun. That celestial object out at the horizon that I'm measuring, when that beam hits me and I'm 3,000 feet in the air, am I at the same ground position as the person directly below me on that zenith line to above me?
Well, hold on a sec. we're talking about the sun now, because there's slightly different rules when you're doing elevation angles with the sun. Okay, so I'm sorry
So
if
different from the stars?
I was talking about the stars, like with Polaris and the elevation angle not changing. Are you wanting to talk about the sun or the stars? Because there's different rules for the
my
sun,
bad.
the stars, and the moon. It's crazy, I know, but
Okay, let's do stars. Let's do stars. I'll do stars with you then. The beam coming from that star that hits me when I'm 3,000 feet up with a bubble sextant, am I at the same ground position as that person on the ground directly below me?
yes, anything in that vertical from the, as far as it relates to celestial navigation and the stars, anything in that vertical is along that ground position, because that is 90 to the point of intersection with Earth.
Thank you. Now, why can't I argue that that beam has to go through me and behind me and hit the ground at a different ground position than that zenith line?
I just told you, the elevation angle does not change with elevation when you talk about the celestial objects. Now, the beam that you're creating is, you're trying to talk about light as in photons, reifying photons into a linear path, and then turning that path into a ray, correct? And you're talking about the ray of light from that object.
That's the point. And I think that is the point. We are dealing with rays because I'll tell you when this sort of...
I'll tell you, hold on. I'll tell you why that's relevant. Rays don't exist, flat out. The photons entering your eyes are only giving you an apparent position of that star, and that apparent position does not change with elevation. But you can use the elevation angle of that star to navigate the ground that you walk upon. Do you understand?
How can you say in this discussion that rays don't exist? Because I'm going to tell you.
Well, hold on. I'll tell you why. Because for you, a ray cannot exist, as if you do assert a ray exists, you are denying a fundamental aspect of the principle of quantum mechanics in the uncertainty principle.
That's crazy. I'm going into that stuff. I just want to talk simple diagrams that I'm looking at. And the reason why rays are so important in this discussion is so that Bacon can't draw me a curved line and tell me that that can form an angle. And in the books I've taken up and read, rays are the word that's used to defeat that argument, because they're infinitely long lines that never meet. And so when you tell me...
I'm sorry, what argument are you trying to defeat with rays? What argument
I'm trying to defeat... When I was speaking to Bacon, they were drawing me curved lines and telling me that they form angles.
Yeah, that is not true.
And
now,
so,
see what we're actually discussing, Bacon, is path information. We're discussing the path information of the incident angle of light as it strikes the surface of Earth. That's what the initial elevation angle will always be. Okay? As long as you have a flat surface that will give you a shadow, you can get an elevation angle to any celestial object. You just need a flat plane and something in the vertical so that you can measure that angle against.
Wow, this is getting a lot different than I thought. Let me ask you what I think is a simple question. can I use just a plumb? Can I just use the plumb to get the angle that I need in order to draw my circle of equal elevation? Can I use a plumb and a
yes,
protractor?
yes, but what is
Yes,
plumb?
thank you.
Yes,
Thank
but what
you.
is plumb?
No, yes, yes, yeah, you are so right. But that can happen. So can we then eliminate the need for an elevation angle?
No, you cannot. One, plumb is a 90-degree with respect to the plane of reference. So you ain't getting away from it by asserting plumb. But even more to that, when you're on the ocean, you're not going to drop a plumb bob. You can't establish your vertical because of the rocking of the ship. But what you can do is use your knowledge of how the world represents itself to you and how you experience level and how you know that level to your first person experience is represented in the third person orthogonal view of an objective reality where that level is horizontal. You know these things, and by knowing these things, it allows you to utilize celestial navigation. But when you deny them, you have nothing.
Okay, I want to say thank you, and I think you made the statement of the week yesterday when you said, "Oh, I was trying to educate him instead of debating," and I thank you for the education process this morning instead of the debating. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I love you to death, Humble. I think
I'm
a lot
sad
of
to hear you
times,
may be getting it.
a questioning attitude can be taken wrong, and there's nothing wrong with having a questioning attitude, but if you're trying to debate someone, it just comes off as annoying. You know what I mean? And I love talking to you. So thank you.
Listen, I'm glad you've got a job, but I'm going to miss you for one. Thanks.
So am I.
Is it accurate to say that Bacon was convoluting light rays with line of sight?
Yeah, well, one of the definitions describes those rays as instead of the imaginary line from the celestial to the observer. So some definitions will say imaginary line, some definitions will say a ray.
Georgie.
Out of interest, what was he trying to make it sound like? What was his point? I'm sorry.
I think he already told you. It's that angles can come from curves.
Well, they're trying to make the angle from the zenith.
Talking about Bacon.
They're trying to make the angle from the zenith line.
Hold on, George. I only answered because Humble didn't, but he came off mute as I started answering.
Sorry.
George, did you have something to say? I am so sorry. I'm being rude.
No, not at all. They're trying to do this from the co-altitude angle. They're trying to reverse the angle from your zenith, up above your head, a horizontal line to the celestial zenith and down to the surface. They're doing the co-altitude angle the other way around. It doesn't work like that.
The same thing.
Even if you, well, it's not the same thing, because if you're doing, no matter what your elevation is, that is your baseline. That's not above your head. That is below your feet.
Right.
What's the baseline of plumb?
Yeah,
plumb has a baseline as well.
Yeah, so does the sky.
Exactly.
So they're just reversing the triangle. They're saying if I take the co-altitude from plumb, then okay, what have you actually then achieved? You've achieved a flat triangle in the sky from your position on the ground, But that isn't what your objective is. Your objective is to get the ground position, as you pointed out as I joined the discussion.
Exactly.
Well, no, you've not formed a triangle in the sky at this moment. All you're doing is taking an angle from plumb, but plumb is still 90 degrees with respect to horizontal. So all you've done is eliminated the elevation angle step of celestial navigation. But you still need the 90 on the surface to subtract from to get you your co-altitude. You see what I'm saying? The co-altitude exists codependent of the elevation angle, whether you utilize the elevation angle or not. It doesn't help them. They're ignoring something fundamental to their understanding. And I don't see that as a rationalization, to take the angle from plumb. Well, so
they're trying to take it away from the ground. That's their constant. That's what they constantly try to do, is take it away from it being the ground.
Exactly.
That's what the guy Steve Bauman tried to do.
Exactly. They're trying to take it away from the ground in a system that's being utilized for the sole purpose of finding ground positions. So it's a very easy next step when they do that, isn't it? And it's happened at least half a dozen times in 2024.
And then it ends with dip correction.
Plumb does not exist independent of the ground.
No kidding. They know that too. And I want to say one thing. That guy Steve Bauman yesterday, I re-listened. Hold on, I re-listened to that. You had it on the members only, and when you were talking about the 90, he was going to say on the surface, and then he stopped and he said the Earth. So he was playing games yesterday, Steve.
Well, he said a lot of things that I'm sure he regrets, like it's 90 degrees from the equator to the North Pole. But yes, very good. Did you just comprehend something fundamental to reality, Yeah, I really messed up yesterday. I kept on, I'd say for a good 10, 15 minutes. I probably ruined a lot of any audio bites Nathan would have been able to get, because I was trying to educate someone he was debating with. I'm an idiot. But as it goes back to the rays, it's not the rays. You're talking about the angle of incident of a shadow on the ground, or you're talking about the angle of incident as it relates to your eye and the horizontal plane you're standing on. These things need a horizontal plane, whether you're talking about how you subjectively observe the world or how you objectively measure it. It does not matter.
Very good. Yes, we will miss this clarity being offered to us, in spite of me being accused of calling you a favourite, just because you give good clarity to things, or you offer good clarity to things.
Yeah, I take nothing away from John, but he also, if you listen back to the shows, he's got a little bit of rumpusy in him where he tries to get in.
Yes,
a lot. Remember, I've been marking him.
Right, if you actually listen a bit more closely, you'll find that at the end of a discussion, right, for instance, you just brought up that Steve Bauman guy from yesterday. Okay, fine. So at the crescendo of the debate, I'm pointing out that he's either got to relinquish Aristophanes' angle measurement with a shadow on the ground, because it's not flat Earth enough for him to be to be acquiring an angle, or admit that it's being measured flat. Why was that the crescendo? Well, because John brought that into the discussion. Now, you can claim he's being a bit rumpusy, but when he sees there's an angle, excuse the pun, to be worked, he's going to muscle his way in, rightly so. So, in reality, in spite of Neil, you and others saying, oh, it's your favouritism, no, you could actually criticise me for not letting him muscle his way in, because that was the main point of that discussion. Yeah? So, the opponent, Stephen, that's like, why are we talking about...
You'll find the cream in a shit pie, Nate.
Why are we talking about Eratosthenes, says our opponent. I reply, because I brought it up. Because it leaves you in a tricky position where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Did I bring it up? No. John did. Now, I did eventually credit him, but in the discussion, for the sake of, consistency, I've taken ownership of it in that moment. But in reality, it's only in the discussion because John brought it into the discussion. While he's saying, I don't want a triangle on the ground, because for it to be on the ground makes it flat, and he doesn't want that. So John ties him to something that's on the ground in his globe rhetoric. Right, John?
I have no objection to what he did yesterday. That was perfect when he brought him to Aristophanes because he couldn't get away from that. That was brilliant. I'm not talking about that.
Right. But the thing is, you can't get away from the ground when you're talking about an elevation angle. That's just, you'll never do it.
Did you hit the intentional pause? Hold on. That needs labouring because I only caught on to this a couple of weeks ago. Right. Elevation angle. Not the ground, you say. Elevation can only be connected to the ground. It's your elevation. Now, yeah, I appreciate that when we're talking about an elevation angle, we're not actually talking about the height of the star. It's its elevation in a form of an angle measurement with respect to a flat Earth. So it's the flat Earth measurement of its elevation with respect to the ground in angle format. So it can only be in relation to the ground. It's an elevation. Now, John put a short pause in after saying elevation measurement because it is. It's elevation. It can't not be connected to the ground. What's that? What is elevation? Oh, well, your height above the middle of space. No. Right? Sorry, I just had to reiterate on what you left as a dramatic pause.
That's what don't make no sense to me. When you break it down like that and they still try to deny that, it just doesn't make any sense to me where their brain is at.
Well, I'll tell you where it's at. They are getting lost between the optical plane and the actual plane, and they're living in uncertainty where the globe exists to them. Because if they can doubt what they know and assert what it could be in the realm of possibility, if it's not what they know, then they can make an argument and it will seem legitimate to them.
Well, that's what he said. He said it's not the globe ground. It don't match up to a globe ground, and it never will because we're not on a globe.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I like Eratosthenes is because he used a terrestrial elevation angle. The elevation angle of the stick in this example, that is a terrestrial elevation angle of the stick, but it is also the elevation angle of the sun. You can't get away from it.
Yeah, you got him trapped there. That was brilliant. I love that. He tried to localize it. Locally flat in a certain area.
6 ways from Sunday, and it was beautiful. And I totally took ownership of it. And that's why I dropped in all of that credit to you, John, because, that was a great moment. There's very often we leave our opponents dumbfounded. Usually at the conclusory point, they rinse and repeat and go round in circles. Whereas in that instance, he's left with an ultimatum he can't cope with. Either concede that we're measuring Earth flat, or concede that the measurement isn't an angle. If it's not flat, it's not an angle. If it is flat, we're measuring it flat. And those are the only two choices. Decry the measurement because it absolutely, without question, requires an angle off the ground be measured. If it ain't flat, it ain't an angle. So that's your choice. It's either measured flat or a bunk claim for a globe. Those are your choices. Yeah, well done, John.
Did he ever give what do you call that? Did he come up with a citation for his two imaginary lines? Did he ever come up with one?
No, of course
or that was just something he was making up?
No, like when I was rattling off 20 of them. No, he didn't. And the same when he said it isn't a triangle, or that the triangle's got two baselines. One's globy, the other's the straight one you can use for angles. no, there is only one. He didn't come up with a citation for anything. While he was saying it, I had triangles flashing up on the screen that QE had given to me and him.
You know, I was wanting to educate him on that as well, because, you know, you could use two conceptual lines for a celestial elevation angle. You could use your eye level, which is an imaginary line, and an angle from your eye to the celestial body, because your altitude does not change the elevation angle of the celestial body, but level is still with respect to the ground you're standing on.
Yeah, thank you. It's always going to be with respect to the ground that you are standing on. And they are going to fight that tooth and nail to their detriment.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nathan, I don't mean to change the subject, but I tried to set up a GoFundMe, and it wouldn't let me do it for some reason with my phone. I tried every which way, and they want phone verification. It won't let me do it. Do you know anyone who can set it up quickly before the show starts in 7 minutes? Shit.
Probably not. Don't worry. We'll cover that on maybe tomorrow's show. But if anyone's listening and they want to know in the next 2 minutes what we're talking about, basically QE's absence, and I don't care if he listens to this and moans, is because he's got a financial issue. So it's a frustration from my perspective, because QE has become, because I forced him to, a YouTuber. Now that means that's effectively, like me, his bit in life as far as everybody watching is concerned. Now, while it's very admirable that he's gone, okay, I've got a financial issue, I better get this sorted out. We actually managed to drag out of him what at least the amount. He wouldn't tell us why or what the concern was. He's just a very proud guy. But there we go. Off the back of that, we just want to set it GoFundMe and go, right, the community is going to miss QE. We do, as a result of some financial strife he's got in that he's battling to resolve. When he's got a community around him that I often appeal to resolve my financial woes. So there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't set up a GoFundMe. It's just a logistical issue in terms of who's going to do it. Now, the ideal would be that QE just set up his own, but as we say, we're doing this on kind of behind his back. Although we did mention this to him, didn't we? We talked about it with him last night, didn't we?
Yes, but he didn't want us to do it. No, I told him he could go eat crap.
Help. It doesn't matter. Yeah, he's a bit prideful. He's a bit rejectful of help, but he's going to be getting it regardless. So we'll set up a GoFundMe. If you remember, you're getting a lowdown a day early, because we'll get this set up over the next 24 hours, and then point out that, you know, Hugh's made an appearance and told us why his absence is occurring, but that's solved with money. So give him money and he'll come back immediately. You know, that's because he's behind the scenes not making videos, trying to solve this problem that he's got, and it's just merely a financial one. Unfortunately, I can't give you any more detail on why he's in this particular bit of financial strife. If it's anything like me, just generally life itself, you know, that's it for a small time YouTuber. Anyway, we'll cover this in the next 24 hours.
I can tell you for certain that the reason he deserves help, and he won't ever say it, but everybody that is connected to Flat Earth Debate has remembered something from their education or has been taught something by QE. And it's something fundamental to your understanding of the world you exist in. And he didn't ask for a dime for it. He gave it freely. He gave it willingly. And now he needs help. And we would all be schmucks if we didn't at least try to help him.
Yeah. And while it's a fair old wedge, I don't think it's an uncoverable amount by the community. You know, I think the community will pool its meager resources as a whole and be able to cover the $2,500, which he's in debt, which we managed to extrapolate out from him with a lot of objections to telling us anything. But there we go. We found out that he's $2,500 in debt, and therefore we can set up a Give, Send, Go, or, you know, someone will set up a Give, Send, Go.
But, you know, with QE, it could have been a tree fell through his house, and that's a financial issue to him. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to tell us what his problem is. But he likes what he does as far as educating and exposing, what do you call them, numpties. He likes doing that. I don't think it's. I don't know what the problem is. I don't want to ask him because it is such a sensitive topic to him. But it could be anything.
I asked him repeatedly. I even came up with a few suggestions that it might be. He just wouldn't have it. Anyway.
No, but I understand where he's coming from, because if I needed help, I would never ask for it. It makes my wife insane, you know?
I would kill to be $2,500 in debt. I would kill for that right now. I would cheer.
Yeah.
But it just makes me a bad, I must be bad with money.
Me too, Neil. I'm in the same boat, but when someone boils it down to an amount because you've dragged it out of them, and that amount is something that's precluding them from doing what they were doing, you know, I mean, no doubt that QE's got all the same strife and mortgages and debts that are general. There's obviously something extra to that general life debt that we all have hanging over our heads. And I know what you're saying. We could all do with an extra $2,500, but for whatever reason, it's precluding him doing what he does. And when it comes to things like this, we can actually help, regardless of whether or not QE wants to accept the help or even ask for the help, which he doesn't. He doesn't want to do either. But he's going to be getting it because it's stopping him being here, isn't it?
I didn't even think of that. How did you get the dollar amount out of him yesterday? Was it just constantly like picking at him?
Yeah, I came up with a few suggestions. It was just me, you know, elaborating on crazy ideas of what could be the problem, and eventually he caved and just told us what it was. Because I was nagging, and so was everybody else on the call. There was me and Adam and you, and who else was on the call yesterday after the show? Because he joined yesterday. Again, if you're watching this and you're an audience member and you're going, oh yeah, he did join, didn't he? Yeah, well, that's because everyone started to nag him. Because, you know, we leave him alone because we know he wants to be left alone when he's, well, I'm disappearing temporarily. Fine, everyone understand. He doesn't want to be nagged. But after a few weeks, you're like, you coming back or what? What's actually going on? And then after about 10 people had done that, he's joined one of the shows to show willing. And then after the fact said, look, you know, I've got a financial difficulty. I'm sorting it out. I'll be back when I sort it.
Yeah, to hear QE telling us that we're, you know, how much he appreciates what we're trying to do and not calling us numpty retards and stuff, that just didn't feel right at all. You know what I mean?
What you're saying is he was a bit despondent when we were chatting with him, and that just didn't seem right.
Hey, that was my line yesterday. You stole it. How are you?
Folks. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. How are you all? Well, I hope.
Good.
We're going to do a little shout.
We're ready.
We're ready? Well, find out what for in a minute. Maybe I should do my call to action immediately. Right, I'm going to do a little straw poll survey because there's a couple of different Flat Earth videos that people have suggested in no particular order. So from Vlad, there's another Flat Earth Dave video. Quite what it is, don't know, but it's another Flat Earth Dave video continuing from the theme yesterday when we covered Flat Earth Dave. That's one of the options. So we'll call that number one. There's what have Christians historically believed about the shape of Earth? That's option two. There's actually four options because there's one left over from yesterday. But number three is going to be Kevin Nash on Flat Earth Theory. Or that's going to be number three. Or
the Kevin Nash, Nathan, it's only about...
Too many F-bombs in that. You'll never be able to play it.
Which one's F-bombs? Kevin Nash?
Yes. Okay, every other word.
Well, let's forget that then. The three choices are another Flat Earth Day video. It's just a different one. Llama diet tips. No idea. Anyway, there's that Flat Earth Day one. There's the Christian one, Christian historically shape of Earth. Or there's the Joe Rogan one. So those are your choices. Joe Rogan's going to be number three. So there's your good choices. Number one for Flat Earth Dave. Number two for Christians. While I get rumpused with my call to action, I'll try that again without hopefully the interruption from Neil. Number one, Flat Earth Dave. Number two, what Christians believed about Flat Earth historically. Or number 3, Joe Rogan talks about how flat earthers need to wake up. Let us know from the chat.
That was me. That wasn't Neil.
Exactly. You're so used to freaking blaming me that
Neil,
you won't even blame your special boy when he's guilty of it.
Absolutely
That's
fine.
what me and Brian have discovered.
John, I'm sorry I shouted at you. Neil, can you stop interrupting? Okay, so we got a few votes in already. We'll leave it to run for a little bit while. But if you're ready, we'll do a housekeeping question while people are voting. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
That's a special boy fallacy. I created one just now.
Axial rotation, Neil. Axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
Negative.
And what is the plane of reference we're going to describe this axis from?
Earth. Polaris.
Oh no, you can't. You can't describe it from the outside of the object.
I mean, if you could, inferring that we would in any way be suggesting that this has a globe related to it, it doesn't. And if we were to suggest that it did, we'd be inside it for a plane of reference in hell, the equatorial plane.
Well, that's your belief.
Right. You can't measure, or you can't reference something unreferenceable. The center of Earth isn't referenceable. Why would you try to reference it? It makes no sense.
The voting is kind of even, Stephen. It's fairly even for all of them so far. Maybe I should run down the voting options again. So number 1.
I think it's only we do number 3.
Want to cover Joe Rogan? Oh yeah, well that's fair enough. If it comes to a deciding vote, feel free. There's at least 50 plus people in the. I know we've only just started live, but yeah, Vlad, you're saying number 3. You were the one who suggested.
I vote 3.
Yeah, Vlad from the chat has said 3. He's the one who suggested number 1.
No, but I didn't suggest that. I just shared the vid from the member from the Discord.
No, I got that. I do this typically, don't I, Vlad? I'll blame you for the video you have kindly shared from someone else who suggested it, and I'll start blaming you. Okay.
Well, if you listened to Vlad yesterday, he said he never wants to hear anything from Dave Weiss again. And I don't blame him.
Yeah, not in those words, but pretty much, yeah. I have to say, that's true.
Well, they're useful teaching tools, and I'm sure it was you that said we want our ambassadors to do a better job. Was that not you that said that, Vlad? I'm sure it was.
I don't think I said it like that. I said I'm pretty disappointed with Dave and his teachings. I didn't say it like that.
Okay, somebody pointed out that these are the bigger names within our community. Yeah? Now, for whatever reason, they focused on getting out and about, putting their faces in front of more people, and for that I applaud them. They're doing a better job than I am. Now, it's all well and good suggesting I need a manager or something, but ultimately these people without any managerial assistance have managed to get their faces in more places than me. Me, I've focused on the arguments and the debate to put us in a winning position in terms of those rhetorical devices we use here every day. Now, we want to communicate those rhetorical devices to the people who have got their faces in front of others. I can't physically do more than I do. I don't have enough hours in the day.
Wait a second. You run a daily debate show. They don't. You're out there more than them.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm not.
No, but Dave Weiss is the one who reached out to Eddie Bravo, man. And I think Nathan should have spoken with Eddie Bravo first. Because Eddie Bravo said Nathan is awesome, not Dave Weiss. You know what I mean? It's just about getting that email from Eddie Bravo. And to connect with that, John, Refracted Curvature from yesterday, I saw your comment on one of Dave's videos from a couple of months ago. But my question is, can we get an email? I was looking for Eddie Bravo's email. I wouldn't mind reaching out to him and, trying to set up the little interview with Nathan. If we have an email, I would do that.
Well, that's the problem that we're in right now. Is any email that we know of at this moment is a private email that Nathan cannot give us, or we cannot ask that of Nathan because it is a private email. I'm still trying to find a way to contact Eddie Bravo on a more professional level, and that has been shown to be difficult.
It is.
Well, that's of course Nathan's just a little scared.
Anyway, shout out Jardo. Brian is scarce. Is that right? Brian is scarce. Adam is scarce. John is going back to work. That leaves Johnny and Neil. I've no other option but to tune in to Jaren. Says Jardo.
It's funny.
What are you talking about? You got Nathan. Nathan, you know, like the people watching this show, when a baller does come in, they watch for Nathan to take them apart, not for refracted curvature to take them apart or Brian to take them apart. This is always going to be Nathan's show because Nathan is a better debater in the moment.
That might be true, but the information I'm debating with is the information I get from everybody around me. So it's a double-edged sword when I have to take the attitude that I can't get too upset about an open panel that I offer open to almost 100 people daily. Now, the people who do enter from those 100 people, so you've probably as an audience heard me talking about Master B. Well, Master B has got 93 people currently. It sometimes goes over 100, sometimes it's under 100, depending on who decides that they don't like us anymore and leaves the group. But whoever decides to join the G Plus panel is just, that's up to them. Now, over the years, I've put less and less emphasis on getting more people into that group. Now, recently, there's been a few that I've added, One Deck being one of them. There's a few others that, you know, some of them have actually joined the group. Some of them have just, you know, let it fall by the wayside. But there's several participants from the public who, you know, generally will rise to the occasion so much so that I want them on the main panel. Yeah? And if one day nobody comes in, that doesn't, number one, mean that there isn't 30 people in the Discord server. And if there was no one in the G Plus panel and nobody in the, heaven forbid, in the Discord server, I'd still do an hour-long show. Go back to show number 25 and listen to me introduce the show and sit in silence for 5 straight minutes. And then come back and go, if you want to join, I'll put my YouTube channel on the line because I'll give you a link to the G Plus show I'm running, directly connected to my show and channel. Yeah, very dangerous game I was playing back in the day. But I'd sit there for prolonged periods of silence. Now, if, let's say, the argument went cold, highly unlikely, it's never going to be, not contentious. But if it did, I'd still sit and run the show, because there's always going to be some guy who hears me doing a call to action and saying, oh, by the way, Earth's measured flat, if you did want to come in and debate me about it, I'm sat here waiting, and then there's a protracted silence. Yeah? So be it. Eventually someone will come in, because they don't want to hear me telling them on a live stream, Earth's measured flat. There'll always be someone that doesn't want to hear it. I absolutely guarantee you. So, in some ways, I have to be quite cold with the panel and go, no offence, if you didn't turn up, the show would go on. Doesn't mean I don't have my favourites. John is absolutely one, if not the only one I have. Let's be honest.
Well, speaking of favourites, is George in the Master B chat? And if he's not, can we get him in there? Because after I leave this week, that'll be the only way I'll be able to communicate with you guys. And I'd like to stay in touch with him.
What, via telepathy and George? Am I missing something?
Yeah, George from Discord.
Again, George.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, we need to get you, and there's several others that need to be in the G Plus panel. So, you know, people like Sensual Goat should have been in there ages ago. I don't know why he's not. George, the same. Be With the Buzz hangs around in Discord intentionally. He's doing moderation things. But I believe he's in Master B, and if he wanted to, he could join G+. But there's several.
Yes, there is. And are they not being asked, or have they been asked and they've turned down? Because I don't want to feel like I'm pressuring them to do something. I would like to stay in touch.
It's a link that goes out. They can join if they want. If they have Master B, that link goes to them and they can click on it.
Maybe I'll ask
I'm not talking about people that have Master B.
Rather than let's drag out through the live show. So George, specifically, Sensual Ghost, Mush, Jardo, Dank, a B with a Buzz. Have you all got links to Master B? And if not, it's kind of rhetorical. Get in touch with one of the moderators. I know B with a Buzz is in Master B. And make sure you get linked in through Skype. If you don't have Skype, you have to have Skype. Okay, well, I'm going to draw a line under this now because we are streaming live and people have taken a straw poll for what video they want, and it was pretty unanimous in the end. It was definitely Joe Rogan. So that's what people want. That's what we'll cover. Fine. So, usual call to action. Thank you for voting, by the way, if you put your 2 pennyworth in the live stream chat. As always, I'll do a little share. So go to this channel, which is it JRE? University of JRE. I know he's got about half a dozen or a dozen channels, but this particular one is University of JRE. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link to JRE or University of JRE going by in the live stream chat right now. So while I'm doing this call to action, if you are in the live stream, do it as we speak, literally now. Click on that link, go to Joe Rogan and tell him at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, we covered your video. Now, based on past experience, there's going to be a lot of pausing because any JRE video or any JRE channel likes to copyright strike people if you use more than about 25 seconds of them footage. As I found out last time when covering the guy who was talking about Ether, I believe. Forgotten his name now. Guy was War Machine. Anyway, point being, I'll probably end up doing a lot of pauses, but we'll get right into this once people come back after my call to action. So, as always, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me in one of the comments that you leave when you help him in the YouTube algorithm. The highlight being that if they do the same in return, we'd get a link to our video if they were to do a response. So that's the idea. Hopefully we'll bolster them in the meager way we can with this very small YouTube channel. Go ahead. I'm just doing this call to action prolonged so that people can actually come back. Go ahead. Go ahead, whoever that was. I'm saying the same thing over and over again to give people time to actually go to his video and leave a comment and come back and hear me tailing off with the same call to action they left when they went to do it. Also, if you're watching it after the fact, please go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Right, hopefully that's enough time.
I have seen this, Nathan.
You have?
Yes, and Mr. Carson is about to appeal to gas behaviour, and he's about to talk about gas.
Okay, let's get into it.
People. Oh man, I just try to be quiet. I just tell them, look, it's not my thing. You know, I remember Flat Earth Society offered me money years and years ago, and I was like, no, I don't believe the Earth is flat. I'm not getting involved with this. And
that's interesting. So, Flat Earth Society are what we would definitely define as controlled opposition. You know, they're the ones that are coming up with edges for a flat Earth, so that there can be false dichotomy arguments with the edge of a globe in the form of a geometric sphere edge for boats to fall over, or the dome that we're supposed to be defending when you've got a high-pressure gas system next to a vacuum in violation of a natural law. So all these straw men have been set up by the Flat Earth Society. They're prevalent when you do a search for this topic.
It really attacked me hard. Death threats and everything else.
They get very upset.
Yeah.
What? Did he suggest that if by rejecting the Flat Earth Society, he got death threats? I'd love to see that substantiated if that's true. I doubt it's true.
I do not understand. I just think it's people committing to an idea.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's a religion now. They turned it into a religion. Anytime that...
Who's they? Yeah, are you suggesting Flat Earth is a religion? Maybe for some of our compadres, they have a belief in it. So you could compare it, tantamount to a religion for some Flat Earthers. We just point out how Earth is measured. It's measured flat.
That people can attack you so brutally over that. I mean, I'm on live talking about quantum physics, and they're in the chat. The Earth is flat. The Earth is.
You're in chats talking about quantum physics, are you? Really? Okay. We'll see who this guy is. Who's this guy? Is this Billy Carson?
I can guarantee you what he thinks is quantum mechanics is actually quantum field theory, where he tries to take his beliefs in heliocentrism, relativistic motion, and Newtonian mechanics, and kind of just push them all together and tell everyone that points out that that's ignorant, that they're wrong.
I mean, so that's like, I mean, one guy.
I'm fascinated by it because
it's interesting.
Because it's the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The ultimate conspiracy theory is that we are all on a set, and that the Earth is flat. It's a.
How is it being caveated? We were all on a set. Is he insinuating simulation? I don't really understand what he means by that. All the world's a stage, perhaps. Go on.
He's trying to, I believe he's trying to say that there are these powers above us that know the Earth's flat, but they've tricked us into believing that it's a sphere, because we're trapped inside this actual dome structure, like what would you call it, with the Truman Show.
I see. He's putting that idea as the his rendition of what he suggests flat earthers believe in this idea that he calls the ultimate conspiracy, right?
Yeah. So this is what he thinks would have to be true for the statement that the Earth is flat to be true.
This is a wall. The government's aware of it. They won't let you pass a certain distance. Yeah, there's ice walls.
Yeah.
And that space is just lights in the sky.
Right. That's it.
Sounds like familiar rhetoric from some of our counterparts in Flat Earth, so I can't blame him for, rattling this off. I mean, we would, as we did earlier, suggest the origins of this in terms of Flat Earth Society narratives in false dichotomy. But we don't peddle this, do we? We peddle a very different rhetoric on Flat Earth debate, which is to say Earth is measured flat for everyone. If you're going to make a globe claim, it will have its origins in a flat Earth measurement. Only yesterday we had an example of exactly that, when pointing out to a globe Earth believer that Eratosthenes and his angles off a flat plane can only be described as a flat Earth measurement. That's what they are. Or you can deny that he's getting an angle, in which case deny the very essence of your claim to be globe proof that uses a flat Earth measurement. That's how we do business. Now, the idea that there's a nonsensical flat Earth is very much in the mind's eye of the public currently, after 10 years of feast of nonsense garbage coming from a lot of our counterparts and us. So I can't really blame Joe for having this perception of flat Earth, but most of it has come from things like Flat Earth Society that they themselves mentioned in the opening.
And the sun is a bulb, and all this kind of stuff. It's wild.
And it's attached to a version of Christianity, which is very interesting.
It is. It's tied.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, there's a different faction of flat earthers that would be Christians in this discussion that lean on their Christian rhetoric from the Bible about Earth in its measurements according to the Bible. We just appeal to Earth in terms of how it's measured. For everyone, including globe believers, when they suggest that they've got flat, globe proof, it isn't, it's flat Earth proof, because that's what is actually being measured.
Right into Christianity, the 6,000-year-old.
Is that somebody? Go ahead.
Yeah, in this discussion of belief, which I don't know why you would even discuss what you believe, but that's interesting. Have they talked about why flat earthers believe what they believe, or have they just addressed what would have to be true if flat earthers were correct?
I think both would be satisfactory in a current, discussion forum of flat Earth for a normie. For us, it isn't. Neither is acceptable, right?
Right. That's the point I was trying to drive at. Is it doesn't matter which way they go with this; it's still non sequitur to the conversation. Why are you even discussing it?
Yeah, but we'll get into the biblical nonsense that he's going to presumably poo-poo
theme. The Earth is only 6,000 years old. The reason why people think the Earth is 6,000 years old is because most of the tablets are 6,000 years old, and the Bible was written from the information that came from tablets. So that's as far back as anybody's quote-unquote knowledge seems to extend.
Again, completely non sequitur, the subject of flat Earth. I mean, this is in a video that's called Flat Earthers Need to Wake Up. Now, as a stereotype for lots of these different factions that you're bundling together as flat earthers, maybe. I mean, we often criticise our own side for their use of various different aspects of their beliefs when they appeal to their own understanding of flat Earth, because it makes their understanding of flat Earth just a belief also. So again, it's hard to be critical when we are also criticising a lot of our own side for this. And this is the perception of flat Earth. Just isn't us.
That's where the 6,000-year-old theory comes from, but they've taken that thing and turned it into a religion. I remember one guy DM'd me, and he was going off and telling me he was going to shoot me in the head and all this stuff. And I said, let me ask you a question. If there's no atmosphere...
Sorry, who's telling you that you're going to get shot in the head? What the hell?
I mean, this guy's delusional.
No, what it is flat Earth, because of the way we're taught to. A lot of flat earthers lose their empathy for other people, and it's a lot easier to just say things to people without thinking of, the repercussions upon the individual you're speaking to. This is a problem because idiots like this guy can take someone who has been abused for probably 8 years and told to drink bleach and called a retard, who has just been pretty much molded to speak in the most harsh ways. He can now point at that individual and say, look how bad these people are.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, but nobody ever
hear you. Let me just
threat. Come on.
Let me just hear you out. Yeah, I agree, right? You've got a justification and an explanation for why you'd be potentially taught to that without me just saying, yeah, I don't believe that. Okay, let's take it as read. Somebody threatened to shoot him in the head when they were discussing flat Earth with him. And the justification is as given by John a moment ago. However, you don't become the monster that you're fighting. Yeah, we are told to drink bleach and told we shouldn't reproduce as flat earthers. Yeah, we're told that we should be locked up in the nut house or criminally convicted of something. Yeah, that's what we get. So yes, we have been, as John puts it, abused for 8 to 10 years. For me. Doesn't mean I can become the monster I'm fighting against. It doesn't mean I can tell him that I'm going to threaten his life. That's outrageous. I would also condemn it and decry it, regardless of the justification and how right you are, John. You are right. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Atmosphere, then what are you breathing right now? He goes, what do you mean? Well, I'm breathing oxygen. I said, well, that's a gas. Gas doesn't exist. I said, well, then you should be dead then.
Gas doesn't exist was the counterpart argument from the flat Earth side, according to this. Okay.
Come on.
No, gas requires containment for it to press on and develop gas pressure. Without a container, there can be no pressure. And the heliocentric world derived from flat Earth measurements, in model format, has a globe Earth in a sky vacuum. There's also liars who claim to have taken photographs of a second law of thermodynamics violation globe Earth with high-pressure gas not expanding into a 10 to the minus 17 torr black area known as a sky vacuum, or outer space to you if you're a normie. We can't have a sky vacuum. We'd all be dead because the gas would fill the space. Now, it kind of sounds like he's dumbed that argument down to there'd be no gas, we would be dead, to misrepresent that argument. No, go ahead.
No, what he's done is there is a thing called Scientism, I believe, where that if you can't see it, then it doesn't exist, right? And one of the Glober's arguments against that is, well, what about gas, right? And because I remember from the other side of it arguing with flat earthers that asserted that if you can't see it, it doesn't exist, and then I would point out that gas exists and you can't see it, and they would respond by saying gas does not exist. I can't see it.
Unless he was talking his first chemo.
atoms do not exist. I cannot see them.
Right.
You know?
Okay, I got you. Okay, let's read out a couple of super chats because I'm being told off by a super chat for not reading them. So we've already had the first one from Jardo, but I'll read the next one. John, you are going back to electrical/instrumentational if you do good on you and good luck. I've really butchered that. John, are you going back to electrical/instrumentational if you do good on you and good luck? There we go. That was a bit better.
Yeah,
also, read chats. I did read chats. How dare you? Thank you for the super chats.
That is the hope, Jardo, and thank you for your well wishes.
Coolio.
Because you're breathing a gas. And what else are you inhaling when you breathe? He goes, oxygen. I said, well, no, you're breathing in, helium, krypton,
mostly nitrogen.
Nitrogen. I said, you're breathing in all these.
Krypton? Krypton, I guess.
Did he just throw in a rock that only exists in Superman's the DC universe of comic books?
That's the planet.
Did he just throw that in there?
Krypton is the planet. You're breathing in krypton.
But krypton is also in the DC comics a gas whenever kryptonite is cooked down into a gaseous form in the comic book. Is that what he's talking about?
I guess so.
These other gases, oxygen is only around 21% of that. Otherwise, you'd be dead. So he didn't. He couldn't tell. I said, "Did you graduate from high school?" He said, "No." I said, "I stopped talking." So that's when I realized, don't waste your energy on these people.
Well,
okay, fair enough. I mean, that sounds like a Dumbo. I mean, yeah, you can argue that would boil down to a very stupid conversation. I wouldn't disagree. But our argument's a little more complex and nuanced than that particularly crappy argument. Our argument would be that in order to have gas pressure, that's the air that you're breathing, then it needs to press on something. And it can't press on a sky vacuum. It would disperse into it in line with entropic law, the second law of thermodynamics. That is to say, gas fills space. Go ahead, John.
And also, for you to define that layer of gas having 21.6% of oxygen, 80% nitrogen, however you want to break it down, sir, you will describe that with respect to sea level, and that is a flat Earth. So you might need to wake up, flat earther.
There's a lot of dudes, unfortunately, who just get on YouTube and they listen to very charismatic people talk that don't know what they're talking about, which I do all the time. But they...
He's talking about me.
But they do it in a way where they pretend they know something is true that's not true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely not me. I'm not pretending that we measure Earth flat when we measure Earth flat. What I do, Joe, is I take our opponents who believe they're on a globe, that's right, belief, and show them where they're measuring Earth flat. That's what I do. So I highlight how they have taken a flat Earth measurement and turned it into a global belief. That's what I do. I'm very charismatic, though. I'd like to think so anyway. What can I say?
And people get sucked into it.
I know.
And I just don't understand why you would...
Sucked into a measurement? I don't know if I'm going to go with that. Can you be sucked into a measurement?
No, but I think he's talking more of like, say, if someone asserted the Michelson-Morley is an experiment and that it's showing that either the ether exists or heliocentric motion exists, and it is a true dichotomy that you can prove scientifically, and it has been proven, but they just dismissed the ether as one of the options instead of the heliocentric motion. Yes, I think his appraisal could be valid in that position.
Would think that Earth is the only one out of all these things that we've observed that's flat.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. And I think this is respectfully to all these people that believe that. I think it's a giant waste of time.
He just said the Earth is the only thing we've observed out of all of these celestial bodies that is flat.
Earth is the only one out of all these things that we've observed that's flat.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. And I think.
Yeah, it did. He's putting it into an if statement on behalf of the person he's representing with the argument, though, I believe.
This is respectfully to all these people that believe that. I think it's a giant waste of time.
It is.
I mean, that is your opinion, but the bit I have to critique is the word belief. The people who believe this, you tell me where I've got a belief when I show you Eratosthenes measuring Earth flat elevation angles with respect to a flat baseline, latitude system that developed the grid for the map being measured off a flat plane. What about the mile distances on all the maps? All flat. What about Google Earth when you zoom in and actually utilize the reference system that people build with in Google Earth Pro? It's all flat. You can take an elevation profile and measure it in Google Earth. It's all flat. These are how we deal with and measure Earth. But it's a belief. Tell me which one of those I was believing in, because I'm confused. If you think I've got a belief, I haven't. Go ahead.
Right, and there's the resolution loss calculator that measures a loss of resolution at the horizon using your eye level, and that's height above surface level, to establish how much resolution is lost from the bottom up. You know, that calculator is a flat plane calculator that you guys call Earth curve calculator, but it's not. And that's where all your beliefs about Earth curve come from. That, and as Nathan pointed out, the idea that the latitude system is somehow comporting to the idea Earth's a sphere, and it's not.
Shout out to Alexandra for the super chat. It says 4 more hours. I don't know about that. We'll see how long we get on with Joe Rogan. But thank you very much indeed. Please smash the super chat to support the show. I'll also do another call to action. Please let Joe Rogan know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'd put a link to my video if he was to do a response or mention me in any way to help me in the YouTube algorithmic love that we definitely do not receive as flat earthers.
I think concentrating on the shape of the Earth, even if it was flat, who fucking...
So, shape, no, aspect. The bit we measure isn't a shape. The extrapolation from the aspect of Earth we measure that's flat can be turned into a spherical shape. But you're convoluting the two like they're in any way associated with one another. They're not. The measurement of Earth is flat. We measure Earth as a plane. We reference Earth as a plane. That's what Earth is. We build on it flat, navigate it flat. Earth is obviously, observably, navigably, and measurably flat. Now, that fact is used to make your globe claim for a shape. Go ahead, John.
That's not where he's going. He's going to what does it matter what the shape of Earth is, right? That's what he wants to go to, is how is this going to affect anything, right? And try to downplay the importance of it. But he has an entire panel and a show based around this point. So it obviously matters to him. Why is he trying to play it off?
Well, it's non sequitur either way. So if you say to me that, let's take the 1984 example, right? 2 + 2 = 5. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Okay. If I prove to you that 2 + 2 is 4, will you accept that? No. What I'll do is I'll question how important it is to life that No, that's completely non sequitur. Earth is measured flat. What's that? What difference does it make? I don't care how much difference it makes to you. It is absolutely and utterly inconsequential to me, the one pointing out how Earth's measured, how it affects you, how you feel about it, what it means in the greater picture of what the world would have to be doing if they're lying, blah, blah, blah. None of it's relevant. Earth is
You're absolutely
flat.
right. You're absolutely right. It is irrelevant. But just to what he's actually saying, it makes no sense in the context he's saying it, because if it didn't matter to you, why are you talking about it?
Cares. Look at what's going on out there. It would be kind of crazy if it was flat. That would kind of like bolster the idea that we're the shit, and that we're just so much more powerful and advanced and special than everything else in the universe because we're the only.
Again, why make this extrapolation? You're making this leap. You know, it no longer is being contextualized within what your opponent believes is the case, with a straw man example of what you think flat earthers believe with a stereotype. Now this is just you, Joe. This is what you worry about, not me. And it's not a consequence of finding out how Earth is measured either.
Only ones that exist on a flat plane.
Right.
But the whole thing is just so insane.
Yeah.
Just what we know about the physical universe itself. And about
an asymptotically flat plane, when describing it, that's flat also. Did I say that correctly, John?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Yay! Yay me! I can speak English.
Yeah, Mr. Rogan. What we know about the physical asymptotically flat universe is that the universe is asymptotically flat, and that the angles we measure are 90 degrees to ground positions. So, what do you think Earth is, Joe? What do you think Earth is?
Flat, Joe. It's flat.
About atoms and just what we know about all the matter that exists in our lives.
Again, unless you're going to connect this in some meaningful way to the claim that Earth is spherical based on measuring Earth flat, or the flat out pointing out that Earth is measured flat, what atoms? It's just so non sequitur. La la land, mate.
Is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, you know, obviously,
Joe would say even if you're right, you're wrong.
Even
go ahead, whoever that was that KC or was that Goat?
Joe would say, well, even if you're right, you're wrong.
You have to expand on that. I don't. Obviously, that makes no sense, but you'll have to expand on what you mean by that.
Well, he's saying it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter anyway. None of us matters. But yet he's talking about it. So even if you're right, you're wrong. He just hates us. This is all just to scare people out of looking into it further. A gatekeeping.
He's discussing it with this guy. Why would he be discussing it with Billy Carson? I mean, I don't actually know who Billy Carson is.
The problem is they're constantly trying to put flat Earth into a solar system.
Hold on, Neil. Yes, that is very much on topic, and normally I'd be praising you for getting us back on track, but I do want to expand on what Sensual Goat just said. What you're saying? Yeah, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, because if we prove it, who cares? According to this idea that that Joe's putting out there. But I'm saying, okay, who is Billy Carson, and why would he be discussing flat earthers needing to wake up with Joe? Does anybody know who this guy is? Why he would be relevant to the subject? Why he'd be specifically a guest talking about this? Beyond him, back in the day, being offered a position at Flat Earth Society, according to him. Anybody know who he is?
Ask the Americans, they're guilty of producing him.
I'll take that as a no. Nobody knows the relevance of this guy. Fine.
Speaking on behalf of all Americans, we do not claim Billy Carson, and we barely accept Joe Rogan on behalf of all Americans.
Who is Billy Carson?
I have no friggin' clue. I have no clue. I don't. I'd have to see his face. I'm not picking anything out.
Well, I'd like to say you could see his face, but he's got him. He's a black guy, with a black, not black. I think it's red. I'm not very good with colours, but he's got a very dark background and not particularly great lighting. And because I'm looking at him on a projector, which has got crappy contrast, I can hardly see him.
He's a plant.
He's an author. He's an American author.
Yeah, he started like a forbidden knowledge series about the Anunnaki and such. But he's like a plant.
Right.
He's from nowhere. Nobody.
Oh, okay. No, that's what I was looking for. Whoever said that. Was it Flat Earth Ranger or something?
Yes.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for when I was fishing for it earlier. Thank you very much. I want some background on who he is, because we don't know, obviously.
Forget quantum. Standard physics. They don't comprehend it, and so because of that, they're lost. I mean, satellites don't exist, obviously, to them. So
I remember that's a kooky one.
Oh God, satellites don't exist. No. the claim that there is satellites in a sky vacuum is a claim that there are tin cans floating around in an area that doesn't exist. There is no sky vacuum. If there could be the claim of satellites in this area, then the gas would also fill that area. The high pressure gas we're breathing would disperse into that area that the satellites are claimed to be in. So that's flat Earth debate, debunk the fundamental premise of the area the satellites are claimed to be in. Furthermore, the mathematical description of what they do in an area that doesn't exist is orbits. And orbits is a derivation of a system created by measuring the angles to the stars off a flat Earth. So the derivation of the claim that they're in an orbital motion comes from a flat Earth measurement. Of course it does. All roads lead to a flat Earth. Earth is flat. And they're in an area in the rhetoric of a globe Earth in a sky vacuum that would have us without gas to breathe. If you believe in the laws of nature. Oh, of course, you don't have to believe in them if you're a globe believer. You can just believe that gas won't fill space in line with entropic laws of nature because your model has gas next to a vacuum. Oh, that's perfectly fine and dandy, though. No, it isn't. You can't have satellites in a sky vacuum in an orbital motion that is derived from flat Earth measurements.
I remember Hurricane Maria.
Don't exist as a kooky one. Like, bro, you can watch them.
I mean, it's crazy. Hurricane Maria comes and destroys the Caribbean, and I unfortunately had some loved ones that were involved in that, and I posted a picture.
Oh, we're on to another non sequitur. How does this have any relation whatsoever to the nature of Earth?
Well, he just said you can watch the lights in the sky above your head, right, move, and that's satellites. But if you notice, when I spoke about them, I said above my head, or I would describe them above the horizon when I'm looking at them. Above is a term that is solely with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. Why would you say above? You joke.
Yeah, the terminology, if you want to actually believe these derivations of flat Earth measurements, Joe, would be out from a globe in an orbital motion derived from sphericity measured off a flat plane. I mean, you should get your terminology wrong rather than just proving a flat Earth by saying how high things are when you watch their angular relationship to the horizon change. Again, a description that can only be described from a flat plane. So looking at the lights in the sky will only ever lead to a description of a flat plane relationship, because that is how they're described. For us and you, with your globe belief, and us with our just acceptance of how Earth is actually measured, for your globe belief, that's flat.
So I was raising money for hurricane supplies, and they were commenting and attacking. That's a fake image. It doesn't exist. I'm like...
So these are people who are deniers of hurricanes. They're not flat earthers. You know, if you talk about numpty idiots, the fact that they might also have a flat earth belief is non sequitur with this claim. Now, I would obviously decry this. Oh, my bad, it's being built up as a straw man to burn to make flat earthers, the very specific stereotype that this is being associated with, look stupid. Oh, what a wonderful, fallacious reasoning plan that we have. It's just rubbish. This standard is garbage. This is mainstream, though, isn't it?
Let me ask you this. How much of that is bullshit? Like, how much of that is government, either entities from other foreign governments, where they jump into these subjects to make people seem really stupid? Yeah. And when people...
You're doing it. Projection, much? That's what's just happened in the last 25 seconds. What?
Right. But he's trying to say that people who assert the Earth is flat are either being paid by foreign operatives in order to make real conspiracies look stupid, or they are retarded.
Oh, it's the old poisoning the well or muddying the waters rhetoric, right?
People say something really stupid if they have... One of the things they like to do is put a foreign flag, like an American flag, rather, in their little... their profile.
They always have that, yeah.
And they're just saying the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't know if this is a real person. I think it's not. I think it's one of those...
again, this is completely non sequitur to the subject at hand. Whether or not you got bots with American flags in comment sections. Why do they talk about this stuff when the title's Flat Earth? Right? Aren't you supposed to be talking about flat earthers? But now we're talking about bots by Joe's perception.
Those things that's designed to muddy up any discourse about anything.
Muddy the waters, called it.
Yeah, it's a psyop. I'm telling you, I told people about
this psyop.
This is people who think they've already won a debate. They think a debate happened and that they're on the winning side of it. And now they're making fun of the people that don't get it. That's what they're doing now.
Premature, right?
The debate which his buddy Neil deGrasse Tyson refused to undertake.
Yeah. Because why would you? He's already
saying
won.
They're saying that this debate...
Go on, John.
Oh, I was just saying, they're saying that this debate happened over 200 years ago. What are you doing? Catch up, get educated. There is no debate about what fucking is, you morons. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't mean
to. We've got two left. Joe's had one of them.
Well, a long time ago, this whole flat Earth thing was a CIA psyop.
I think it was.
Drop it in there. If it wasn't,
yeah, I mean, let's just lean into them rather than lean against them, or whatever the phrase is. Okay, what we on Flat Earth Debate called the Feast of Nonsense could, if I was a conspiratard, and I don't want to be argued as you are arguing it. What do I mean by that? I mean, ice walls, edges, domes, air they gave us as an example of things that don't exist. All of these nonsense rhetorics, let's give a few more, ether, alongside clone centers, Mandela effect. Come on, guys, help me out. Name a few more. I've already said ether. There's a whole bunch of things that come alongside as conspiratorial subjects or paths to flat Earth. Conspiratorial paths. Now, those things we call the Feast of Nonsense. And what he's describing, Billy Carson, is a CIA psyop for the general consensus of what flat Earth is. What we call the Feast of Nonsense. So in a way, he's right. What we critique our own side for using the standard fair arguments that have been put into our midst by whoever. He's saying CIA, but by whoever. It might be us ourselves. It doesn't matter. But that would be the psyop. The psyop being to create a perception of something that is so fundamental to every single globe claim, that is a measurement of an Earth that's flat, as being about air that isn't real or about edges will fall off. Yeah? You've got to make it stupid. Now, whether or not that's been done by the hidden hand, the CIA, whatever, isn't really relevant. Because what is relevant is how we break that down in a slightly different way as the Feast of Nonsense, and he just perceives the Feast of Nonsense to be flat Earth. We come along and go, we're actually bracing against that you're calling flat Earth as well, because it isn't. Earth is just measured flat. And because of that simplistic truth that you must adhere to have your globe belief, they've got to turn the most simplistic of facts that we all deal with into something else. That's where the Feast of Nonsense comes in, and that's what he's critiquing. So we can kind of go, I agree with you, but for the fact that you're ignorant of how Earth's measured. Anybody got anything to add to that? My little ramble, my little rant?
Yes, I would like to say these flat earthers who claim that flat earthers are stupid, these globe believers, they're still flat earthers. I think they need to wake up.
Yeah, they need to wake up to the fact that in order to believe in a globe, they need to measure Earth flat. Now, while they might perceive flat earthers to be these crazy numpties who talk about clone centers and Mandela effect, we, here, the ones critiquing them in this moment, point out that your globe faith comes from flat Earth measurements. And you're entitled to your belief, but knocking us for pointing out the origins of your globe faith, and that's flat Earth measurements, isn't something you can really realistically do because you're decrying the origins of your own faith. That's a faith in a globe. Because the origins of the measurements are just in line with how Earth presents itself to us. Earth is flat.
CIA psyop, it was someone from 4chan who just wanted to be silly and went so hard with explanations that a lot of gullible people without science degrees like me, they went along with it. And it's just one of those things.
What? Why are you giving explanations to a what is inquiry?
Not him, it's the 4chan people telling him Earth is flat that he went along with, according to this. I think he's lost in the I'm explaining how flat earthers are, and in reality, his own pain and his own experiences. Because he's just literally phrased it in such a way that is to suggest that these 4chan clowns were something that he went along with in terms of Earth being flat as a belief. So he's fallen victim to the flat Earth belief and woken up from it, realising this feast of nonsense is garbage. And then, because you've woken up from the feast of nonsense, you go, well, therefore Earth isn't flat. That's kind of what he's reminiscing about, as far as I can discern.
Things where it's just, man, what a giant waste of time.
It is. It's a waste of energy. And there's so much more we can learn, like these ancient texts. And people say, well, why do you always focus on the ancient past? Well, because the past is prologue. If we don't understand what happened back then, we're doomed to continue to repeat these cycles of time that we've been in.
Yeah, you're right. It's all just a little bit of history repeating. Dun, 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 dun. Shirley Bassey?
Well, don't we point that out? Don't we point out that history is repeating every 10 years? There seems to be a resurgence between the flat Earth and the globe Earth, supposed debate that never actually happens.
And it's all just a little bit of history repeating. Dun, 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 dun,
right. So when is this
geometric horizons are making a comeback.
Exactly, right? It's cyclical. When is the debate ever going to happen? Their religious institutions are in place. We've given them every single advantage we can possibly give them. And they won't even discuss it now?
They set it up in a way where it appears that there is a debate, but there is no debate on their end. The matter's been settled. But we're over here crying from the other end. Oh, yes, there is no debate. Earth is measured flat, and that's just the facts of things. So they set this up perfectly.
History repeating by Propellerheads featuring Shirley Bassey. Not to be confused with celibacy. Something very different.
In for quite some time, for eons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just direct evidence that civilizations don't last when they go kooky.
Yes.
And that things go sideways.
It's profound.
Sideways, and there's natural disasters and wars.
Again.
It's obviously not true. We know for a fact heliocentrism has been around for 100 years. That's obviously kooky. It seems that
we lost John, or we lost my computer?
Your paradigm. Oh, it might be me.
Yeah, it's just you temporarily. Go ahead. We've got you back.
Oh, I was just saying that the more kooky a religion is, the more it draws the society together and the more cohesive they become. So the statement that the kooky religions fade away and societies fall apart because of them, I don't think that's true.
This is
because heliocentrism has been around for 200, over how many years? Centuries.
Yeah, it's only when you juxtapose it.
Water ball's been around.
You have to give people a reality sandwich that they can actually digest. So with people like Joe Rogan, he's covered Scientology subject several times. And when he has, he's failed to appreciate that Scientology religious belief is based in heliocentrism. Now, we're pointing out the origins of heliocentrism being the measurements of Earth. A flat Earth, for angles to stars, to develop a heliocentric orbital motion-based system with the angles originating in hell when transposed from a curved surface that won't function with angles. So we can explain the origins of a globe earth religion. But when you put it to somebody that your globe earth religion is no different to the Scientology's globe earth religion, they're both the same. They've got the same origins. They're both utilizing flat earth measurements to put the world into a sphere shape with an orbital motion around the sun. Because Scientology is a sun-centric system no different to heliocentrism. They are the one and the same thing. But you see Scientology as kooky. Why? It's no different to your religion. It's the same. Got exactly the same origins.
The reshaped landscapes, like, look, that's all there, and it's happening right now.
Yep.
And if we're not aware of it, it'll happen to us, and then we'll be a footnote of history. We'll be one of those things. There was this amazing country called America.
What is it with these non-stop non sequiturs to the subject matter at hand? We're almost at the end of the video, and one non sequitur fallacy after the next.
They got crazy. They created all this art called.
Yeah, flat earthers will bring down America because of the kooky religious aspect. What are you talking about? We measure Earth flat, and it's the basis of your stupid, fundy, kooky globe religion.
Right, but this is an appeal to people's patriotism to think that flat earthers are somehow anti-patriotic.
Correct. And is there any globe proof yet? Have they brought any proof that Earth is definitely a globe? So this whole flat Earth thing is silly? Have I heard any of that?
Yeah, what we've typically critiqued people of not doing, as Neil has just done. Yeah, if you had solid globe proof, you'd open with it. Just so we're all clear about this subject before we go any further, here's how Earth is proved to be a sphere. Here's a measurement of it being a sphere. Right, let's talk about these kooky idiot flat earthers, because now we've proven that we have actually won the debate with categoric proof of our claim. We can move on and wonder why we've even got the subject. Is it a CIA shill plant muddying the waters of real conspiracy? Yeah, you could do that. They didn't, Neil. But that's what I'm suggesting we do as flat earthers in 2024, isn't it? What's your opening gambit the moment you open your mouth, if you're ever in this circumstance? If I was Billy Carson. Oh, we've got a flat earther idiot with us today called Nathan Oakley. How's it going, Nathan? I don't know why you call me an idiot. Earth's measured flat, Joe.
Culture, and they did amazing things, but they went fucking sideways.
Yep.
They sold out the money. They got involved in wars, and then the next thing you know, the world is operating essentially like communist China. The whole world.
Yeah.
And that's possible too, kid.
Yeah, that's possible, probable, maybe. I mean, it's just completely non sequitur. Your views on this are irrelevant. Your opinion on what may come to pass as a consequence of Earth being flat. This is so ludicrous.
All right, you got to fight for this, because whatever this thing is that we have, this is like.
Oh, those are fighting words for people like Craig. Yeah. All the women beaters out there, you can unite them to fight the flat Earth.
Super fucking unique.
Neil
But if you want to look at the
same
past,
when he appealed to the Geekiverse, if you remember when we covered that video.
No,
I'm not going to debate this, but you guys in the Geekiverse, you go out there and you fight this for me. Joe's doing the same thing.
Who said that?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, really? You guys in the Geekiverse. Yeah, between beating up drug addicts and women, you can fight the flat Earth.
If you're not fascinated by ancient structures, if you're not fascinated by what kind of technology and knowledge that they have 4,500 plus years ago to make the
then you could also go and look at Antiquitech from people who claim there's a Tartaria next to the cake area. You can, but it would be completely non sequitur. They're partially people who we critique. I mean, we see them as absolutely ludicrous, but you're suggesting that the alternative is to go and look at Antiquitech. Oh, really? All right. We can pretty much tell what Joe Rogan's currently looking at on YouTube, right, Joe? You a fan of Martin Leaker?
Hold on a second. If he's going to talk about ancient structures, then let's speak about how they were built and what they were built on. Because you're not building any of this stuff on a sphere. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ouch, Neil. That was an excellent segue.
It was. That was great.
That was.
I almost rounded out on that note, but we have got a little bit more video to go. But that was worthy of me rounding out and asking people to stay tuned.
experiments.
Right.
Who are these people?
Exactly.
What were they doing?
God damn it, it was right at the end as well.
If you want to assert, if you want to assert with the pyramids that they were using angles of the pyramids to align with celestial objects, that's going to be a problem, Joe.
On a sphere?
Yeah, it'd be a problem on a sphere.
Yeah,
because it is only possible on a flat plane.
We absolutely are. That is going to be something for Joe to mull over as I invite my audience to stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Absolutely. Because we are the ones talking about how we know for a fact that it's flat because we have measurements. We can measure. What do you have? Nothing. And we're getting lumped in with the feast of nonsense. Drives me insane.
Well, it's actually worse than nothing. They have worse than nothing because they have the same flat Earth measurements we have. You know what I mean? It's worse than nothing.
That's true. What they have comes from us. So you're right. What have I always said? The globe is measured flat. Deal with that. Rat-a-tat-tat.
I trimmed out the, you know what we were discussing in the pre-show, that Steve video? I've done a shorts version, less than 60 seconds. I've done a TikTok version, which ended up being intro length, like 2.5 minutes. And then I did the full, editing out the prolonged silences where appropriate, because there were some appropriate silences in there, and turned it into like a 25-minute video, which I'll release over the weekend. But did you want to hear the 3-minute version, as I've got it queued up?
Before we do, did you edit out the parts? Yeah, I do want to hear it, but before you do, did you edit out the parts where I was trying to educate the dude while y'all were debating? I hope.
I can't remember. I don't know if that made the main edit. You'll see which section it is when I play this little section now. So, Steve, was he wrong when he started measuring this angle because the ground isn't flat? So we can put a big fat cross through Eratosthenes, right? Or he was measuring the ground. Which is it? Kick the globe proof to the side because of how wrong it is, or concede the flat Earth it's measuring, Steve? You're caught between a rock and a hard place. Which one you going to pick?
That's exactly what I said. Yeah, in your world.
So, Steve, he was getting an angle off a flat Earth then, for his angle to be an angle. So it is a flat Earth he's measuring then. Is it a big fat red cross through it because it's not an angle, couldn't be Earth not flat? Or is he getting this angle in the rhetoric from a flat Earth, Steve? Sorry, what was that? Not between a rock and a hard place?
He didn't measure a flat Earth.
So we're going to put a giant cross through Eratosthenes' garbage globe proof because his method's flawed. Not an angle that he's getting on the ground from that shadow because Earth's not flat. So it's failed method, isn't it, Steve? It failed. Would that be a stony silence, Steve? Oh, my bad. It's you never getting a chance to speak. It's obviously my confusion in that long, protracted, stony silence while you figure out where to go when you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Because you can either say that Eratosthenes' claim to be angle measurement isn't an angle, because it's not a flat Earth. How could it be an angle? Or you can concede that he must measure Earth flat for it. Which is it going to be, Steve? Which is it going to be?
What are you talking about?
Nathan, this is a build-up. This is a build-up for about a year of him in chat.
Right. If it's just what we say, then he can deny it. It's what it's coming down to. He thinks that it's just what we say, not what we've been demonstrating, or not what we've got him to admit to.
You brought him back to the sticks and shadows, and it's the ground, and he's still denying it.
Right. You get the elevation angle of the stick with comparison to the sun. So you have the elevation angle of the sun now. But that's not an elevation angle because it's got a triangle in it. So Eratosthenes is garbage. Throw that out the window.
That's it. That was the 2.5 minute version.
Nice.
That pretty much sums up the entire last part of that encounter. That is, that was it.
I'd give Steve a little credit though, because when you were going to Aristophanes, he was anticipating what you were doing, because he tried to go on a mountain and he tried to claim locally flat. So he's not an idiot.
Locally flat is measured flat. Locally flat is measured flat, Neil.
Yeah, it didn't matter if it was an inch or 20,000 miles, Neil.
Right. I know that.
Yeah, so at some point he's got to concede for his Aristophanes claim to be proving a globe. The first step is accept that you're measuring Earth flat. Now, where he justifies in some way, it's only a tiny little bit of flat Earth I need to measure. I just laugh at him, don't I? All right, you just need a little bit of flat Earth to move forward in this globe claim. Right, I see. And they all do, Neil. They all start with a flat Earth measurement. It's all there. The main problem is that where we're pointing out their starting point as a flat Earth measurement, most flatties don't realise it and will whistle past their own flat Earth proof in the claim that they're making also. So because we whistle past elevations and distances as being what they are, flat Earth proofs, when the glober uses elevations off a flat plane, distances along a flat plane, we let them use those things to prove a globe with? Nah, not anymore. Not since 2024. No. We start by pointing out Earth's measured flat, and if you want to contest us, we'll point out how your globe claim uses that measurement I just pointed out. I'm not claiming it, I'm pointing it out. Earth's measured flat.
Right. Well, Whitsitt, remember when he said the extension of the baseline proves Earth's flat instead of just the measurement?
Yes.
It's because it's, like you said, it's almost built into you to accept the flat Earth measurement and then argue about whether it's a globe or not. It's built into us through our educational system.
Yeah, and that is the linchpin in my opinion. People go, how can we possibly go from an entire Western world believing we're on a globe to them accepting it's flat? I don't see a transition. Well, this is that transition. When they can realise that the origins of their globe belief all start with flat Earth measurements, they'll start to slowly appreciate that Earth is measured flat. Not, oh right, well when we measure Earth flat and then prove a globe with it, that makes Earth a globe, which is currently what people do. They just don't realise they're doing it. So we need to point out, oh, you already knew it was measured flat. Here's your example you're giving us. You see how there's a flat Earth being measured in it? Like we did with Aristophanes in the example I just played. So the guy's got a claim. He needs a flat Earth measurement to start that claim. Well, that's the start and end of the argument. But he's the one who appreciates it from his own perspective on a globe that he's starting with flat Earth measurements. They just don't know how to cope in cognitive dissonance when you point it out to them. But that is where people can go, I already knew that. I knew that we built on Earth flat. I already knew we navigated Earth flat. I already knew we made the maps flat. I already knew the latitude system was flat. I already knew Aristophanes was measuring a flat Earth to make the claim we're on a globe in the model. I already knew it was just a model extrapolated out from elevation angles to Polaris. I already knew it was a flat Earth Polaris-centric system that was measured to give us the globe inference. So we've got an avenue to give every person on Earth that believes they're on a sphere a justification to say they already knew. Why? Because they did!
Right, and that with the anti-flat earther, you got something to say, Neil? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm just agreeing.
Oh, right. Well, with the anti-flat earther, Steve, that we were dealing with yesterday, right? He already knows it's flat. That's why he's an anti-flat earther. And I was wrong when I was trying to, educate him. He already knows this. The first part of that discussion about with respect to the plane of reference, he understands that an angle is with respect to a plane of reference. He gets that.
Yeah, but he tries to take it away from the ground. He gets it, but he tries to move it away from the ground as quick as possible by saying it's an imaginary line.
It is, in some ways, the conceptual unit, right, is imaginary because you're talking about a measurement. But the aspect of reality you tie it to makes it a measurement. It is no longer just a conceptual thing or an imaginary thing. The moment you tie it to an aspect of reality and that aspect is level, and they won't accept it, but they use it over and over again.
Yeah, but the definition Nathan gives, what is it? The one where he's standing, the plane of reference the observer is standing on. So how is that imaginary?
It's not. I'm telling you, it's not. You're talking about the measurement and how it's utilized on the actual plane, right? That is applied to the ground or the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. But they're having trouble getting from the perspective view where they see level and the objective description where you have horizontal and vertical, right? They can't link those. So they build a world that isn't anything to do with reality because they refuse to link those things. Celestial navigation depends upon the linking of those two understandings.
Yeah, I got you, but they'll turn around and say, well, you can't solve for the triangle because you can't get the height. So Earth is not flat. If Earth was flat, you'd be able...
Well, see, that's the problem. You can solve for the height. It's just the height you solve for is not the height of the star.
Correct.
Right. So
in this context, the height of the star is up to 90 degrees, never more.
Right, like with the triangle I used for Eratosthenes. You can solve for the triangle. I just did it with him. He agreed to it. 3 angles, 3 lengths. That's how we figure out what the angle is with the lengths of the shadow and the stick and the hypotenuse that's formed. That's how we understand what the angle is. So he understands it then. But when you point out that that's not actually where the star is going to be or the sun's going to be, it's not at the top of my stick, correct? You know, he's just not getting it.
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah, he also denies that an elevation angle is a right angle triangle. What can you do?
Well, that's why I took him.
He denied that. He denied that. And then he tried to say it was a right angle triangle. No, wait a second. At the end of it all, he denied that it was. So what does that make him?
The sad thing about it is, right, the really sad thing is whether it's a right angle triangle is non sequitur to the measurement of a flat plane you're taking.
Agreed.
Maybe that's the problem, is we've moved a step past an understanding that they have lost. Let's not talk about the circle of equal elevation or the triangle we will form to create that circle. Let's talk about just the measurement so you can understand it before we move forward.
Yeah, and the distance over the ground comes from the co-altitude angle, which is parallel zenith. In order to have the
but they're not ready for that. You know what I'm saying, George? If you don't understand the measurement, what's the odds you're going to understand the calculation that the measurement is utilized within? It's like I don't understand words, but I'm going to write sentences. If I don't understand what words mean, I can't write sentences.
Yeah, if you ask them to describe what is the co-altitude angle, yeah, they must define it as parallel zenith lines. Otherwise, the baseline and the line above the baseline, they will be different to one another. The length that is, it wouldn't be the length of the ground anymore.
Could you say that again, George? I don't know if I fully comprehended what you said. Could you say it one more time?
Yeah, the distance on the ground, yeah, you get it from the co-altitude angle. So you minus from 90 in order to have the distance times by 60. That means that you have two zenith lines, your zenith, the ground position you're trying to find where you are, your zenith must be parallel to the other three zeniths that you are observing to do your triangulation. So if you do this on a sphere, the zenith lines, they are diverging from one another, so they wouldn't be parallel, if you know what I mean. So the distance on the zenith line wouldn't be different from the ground. You have two lines, not horizontal, first of all, and not equidistant.
Right, but you can't do it on a sphere because your zenith is 90 degrees to the plane of reference. So it's not on a sphere.
Take an elevation angle from a sphere.
What you're talking about with divergent zeniths is to say that the plane of reference is actually rotating. And that is giving you divergent zeniths. But it's still a plane of reference, not a sphere.
He did throw rotating in there, if you listen. He threw the word rotation in there.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Right,
it's
Johnny,
just, it's never with respect to a sphere. It's never with respect to a sphere. That was my only correction. I apologize, George. But you knew that. I don't know why I'm basically doing that for the audience. I'm sorry. Your point's valid.
Yeah, correct. You need to have 90 degrees, not only at the GP of the star, you need to have 90 degrees at your feet and above your head, going to the zenith of the star again. You need to close that box to find the co-altitude angle. That's why they try to do it. Some people are trying to do it from your zenith, yeah, and the angle from above your head. No, you can't do that because you need the elevation angle to happen. So you can minus from the 90 to find the co-altitude angle. So those zenith lines, they must be parallel.
Right.
Boy, they're trying to get away from the ground, aren't they?
Right. You can't get away from the ground. Like demonstrated yesterday when the gentleman used the elevation angle to establish the plane of reference. He used the co-altitude to multiply by 60 nautical miles and describe a distance over what? That's right. This plane of reference. And then he was like, it's not the plane of reference.
Yeah, he almost said it. If you listen back, when 90 came up, he almost said, well, it's the Earth. It's exactly how he said it. The Earth. Yeah, you want to say surface because you know it's the surface of the Earth, just not your ball Earth.
Well, what he wants to do is take the co-altitude, forget about the plane of reference, just use the plane of reference to get the co-altitude, and then apply the co-altitude as if it's a distance in the sky that has nothing to do with the ground, and then go to point B, where he will then take the same zenith and say that these miles were measured in the sky. There, like nothing to do with the ground, nothing to see here. It's a sphere.
But Nathan said, we're not navigating La La Land, are we?
This was an argument back in the day brought by Zanuck. Yeah, Zanuck would bring his plumb bob and a protractor, yeah, because he needs the perpendicular to plumb for his baseline. But his baseline, even though it might be above his head, that is the horizontal plane for the elevation angle to happen from. Yeah, it doesn't go down; it goes up from there.
Right, but when you're talking plumb, what is perpendicular to plumb? What is that word?
Yeah, horizontal.
No.
And that will be your baseline.
It's level.
You have to reference the Earth.
A level, yes.
Right, it's level. Yes, level. Level is not a point on a vertical datum. It is a point having no position higher or lower with respect to that point across all vertical datums. They want it to be a point so they can bend or not bend, so they can change the vertical into being divergent.
Yeah, they're trying to reverse engineer, but it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. You can't reverse engineer this. You need a horizontal plane to start your measurements from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, even if they tried, you still have to reference the Earth that you dwell atop.
Well, if you listen to the argument that Steve gave yesterday, he was trying to give a distance in La La Land, right? He used the plane of reference. That has nothing to do with the Earth, right? Nothing to do with the Earth. Plane of reference. I get my elevation angle. Then I use my elevation angle, subtract from 90 because I have a plane of reference in La La Land. And then I take those arc minutes and apply that number to 60. And that gives me a distance along the La La plane of reference that has nothing to do with the ground, which just happens to correlate with the distance of navigation. And that was what Adam was kind of pointing out in his statement, that this is obviously navigating the ground. Why do you keep saying it has nothing to do with the ground?
Yeah, and by dividing the measurement itself from the ground, it's no longer navigation. It's no longer celestial navigation, was Adam's point at the end, right?
Yeah, Adam said he doesn't know what he's doing. But it ain't celestial navigation. Adam, what was he doing?
Sorry. Remember yesterday?
Yes.
The guy was trying, as I remember, to justify doing or taking elevation angles and celestial navigation, but in doing so having to separate his elevation baseline from the place he's actually going to navigate. He has to do that because he has to create a curved baseline, so he can't have the two being commensurate with each other or the same thing, which is fundamentally what celestial navigation is. That baseline that we measure our elevation angle from is also commensurate with the surface we're going to navigate on. The circle of equal altitude you create is created on that same plane, which is the surface or the baseline for your elevation angle. And he was separating the two, wasn't he? Be able to have a curvy baseline.
Right. And the way he was doing it was to take the subjective experience of level, divorcing that from horizontal, but keeping plumb and vertical intrinsically linked, and then denying that horizontal has anything to do with the ground and trying to solely stick to horizontal.
Yeah, he failed to understand that a latitude is a circle of equal elevation. He said it at some point. He had the 90 degree from the equator to Polaris. That's a flat Earth proof. If you have a 90-degree angle, that's it. You know, and that is the latitude. But it's a circle of equal altitude.
You are giving this gentleman too much credit. He didn't even understand the measurement, let alone how you will calculate distance over the surface. He didn't understand the measurement to get to the calculation. So you're right. He doesn't understand the calculation, but the reason is he doesn't understand the measurement. He can't understand the calculation.
At least he admitted that you cannot get an elevation angle off a curved surface.
Well, he admitted it would be 90 degrees to the surface if the Earth was flat.
Yeah, that if the Earth is flat was bothering me. So what happened after? Was he still in the chat when the show ended?
Well, I didn't stay until the end of the show, so I wouldn't know.
He's been around for a while.
He hasn't come up in Discord, at least not in here, very often, if you know what I mean. He popped in the show, and it seems to me like he pops in just for the show.
Oh, so you're saying, because I always see him in chat when Nathan runs one of his shows. Because I'm moderating the chat, and that's why I always see him in there. I was under the assumption that he was in Discord with you guys all the time.
Negative. If he's in the chat, it might be the YouTube chat, not the Discord chat.
He actually just joined Discord about a month ago. Neil, remember I was telling you he was complaining that he was banned on YouTube, so I was asking you, did you ban him? But he just joined Discord about a month ago. Steve Bauman.
Oh, that's what he meant yesterday? First of all, I don't even know how to ban anybody. I know how to time somebody out, but I do not know how to ban anybody, and I wouldn't ban anybody unless they said something outlandish. Then I would try to figure out how.
Yeah, and he was asking, I think Sensual Goat yesterday, he was calling him on a debate at McToon's or Fight the Flat Earth. He was telling him to come over and debate him.
Well, that would be great.
He associates himself
and
with McToon. Sorry, John, go ahead.
I would be all for Sensual Goat debating on McToon's if they could give us a valid point of contention that they will hold in opposition to us. So what is their valid point of contention that we need to debate them about?
Earth is not flat.
That's not a valid point of contention. You need a valid point of contention. What is it?
Horizontal plane is not referencing the Earth.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. I heard Neil third part of it.
I said they're going to say horizontal plane of reference is not referencing the Earth. Like, what else can they say? The same repetitive shit all over and over. There's no 90-degree triangles.
Would you call that a valid point of contention?
Nope. It's just denial of reality.
It's also a denial of their own claim.
They're going to tell us that horizontal is not parallel to the plane of the horizon.
Well, that's an anti-flat earther claim. That's not a globe claim. Globe claim, you can ask any surveyor, the horizon's just flat. All horizontals are derived from that known relationship between where surface level appears to meet the sky and horizontal. That's how we create squares and instruments to measure the surface.
Yeah, you had to bring that up to him yesterday when you brought up the square. That was good.
But you know how to build a square, don't you, Neil? Like if you were out in the wilderness and all you had on was your clothes on your back and your shoes, you could build a square with just that, couldn't you?
Yeah, a couple of sticks.
Right, and you could use your shoelaces and a rock to get to form a square with the horizon, and then you could take those sticks, lash them together to form your 90 degrees, right? Simple as that.
Correct.
The globe does not deny that. Only anti-flat earthers do. That is not a valid point of contention.
Yeah, that's a problem. But we've been saying it for the longest time. If you want to debate, where's the point of contention? A valid one, that is. Oh, there is none. So the debate is over.
There used to be one that I have to give them kind of, is how much curvature are we measuring? That was a valid point of contention.
Yeah, we all fell victim to that, didn't we?
Kind of, because we were never measuring it. It's kind of like it seemed like a valid point of contention, but it never was.
So they want us to beg the question of the existence of a curvature because we're going to measure it, isn't it? Like Matthew 11 says, what's the point? If it's not a sphere, what's the point of looking for a radius?
Well, that's a moment of realization, right? That's almost a concession to reality. But they're using it the other way to say, because I am calculating for a sphere, there must be a sphere.
Exactly. We need to beg the question of the existence of the sphere or curvature, for that matter, yeah, for the conversation to happen. So we need to go to La La Land first. Yeah, and then debate as to why we see or don't see this curvature, that it must be there.
Right, but if it was measured, it would be a valid point of contention because it's a measurement. You're measuring curvature. Let's talk about it. That's debatable. That is a debatable point. If you think you're measuring it, that is worth debating.
Well, sometimes the bottoms of buildings are missing.
They don't want that conversation.
That measures curvature.
Yeah, but they don't want that conversation because they're going to need a horizontal plane for that. Boats disappearing bottom up on the horizontal plane.
Well, that's why it's no longer a valid point of contention, because we understand that now. But we arrived at that understanding by arguing about the measurement, didn't we?
Exactly.
So what measurement is a valid point of contention now that they would like to argue about that they don't also utilize?
There is none.
Yeah, the debate's over. It's just we're waiting on everybody else to figure it out, I guess.
Oh yeah, it was finished in the 2020 with the Black Swan. It was just another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and that debate
now
was
they have problems with the word measurement.
Yeah, and that was more of a debate based on understanding of the mathematics. You know what I mean? It wasn't actually about measurement. It just had the appearance of being about measurement.
Yeah, because there's a claim of a measurement in the calculation, which is not observed, not measured, not repeatable, making it not being a measurement. That's why even some flat earthers they have problem with the black swan, because on the model of Stolens it just ends with the Earth is not a sphere, rather than not a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. But it doesn't matter, that statement, because the Earth must be a sphere with those dimensions. Bigger or smaller, the whole model implodes.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
It's not a sphere.
But I don't see how people don't understand that. I can't believe they think that's a valid point of contention to say, it's just a bigger sphere. That doesn't make any sense.
Sorry. Everything's related
You're
to
not
that.
expected to see the geometrical horizon. Not expected to see the geometrical horizon, they claim. So how do you measure?
Yeah, that's what killed. That's really what killed it. In context, the time frame is that they claimed they could no longer measure curvature. Then there's no debate to be had within the context of an Earth curve calculator, right?
Oh yeah, there's no coming back for them. They're appealing to the future. Maybe one day they'll find an argument. So silly. Against the measurements, you want to find an argument.
George? How could they ever find an argument? They can't. A ball
against
is an
a measurement.
impossibility.
How are you going to argue? How are you going to argue against a measurement? You don't like this form of measurement. You don't like it in nautical miles. Maybe you want it in terrestrial miles. Maybe you want it in kilometers, in feet.
Right.
Yeah, but it's still a measurement, no matter how you do it.
Think about how you're laughing to yourself in some of these conversations when they're arguing against the measurement, right? And you're like they're appealing to accuracy or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, think about you giggling to yourself. They were doing the same thing prior to 2020 when people were arguing.
They were.
Well, yeah, I know, Neil. I was doing it. I was giggling about it, you know, because I thought I was measuring.
John. Hold on, John. That's why Timmy was longing for Nathan to be back in that place that he was in. He was longing for that time.
Right. That's where you control people, you know. That's the best place to be at to troll, because if they're talking about, oh, we're only measuring this slight curve as opposed to this deep curve or the amount of curve that you say we should see, we're still measuring curve. So it's not a flat plane. That's,
yes, but
you know what I mean?
Back then, yeah, but back then we had a concession that the geometrical horizon only exists in the maths. You know, so not a physical measurement.
Well, that's the problem. It's not a measurement. But if you're talking about how much curvature you're measuring, then you can claim the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. But in context of we don't have a measurement, then why are you even talking about a geometric horizon? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if they're going to describe like they did back then, yeah, because the information was there on the slides, we just didn't see it. They're going to need a horizontal plane to describe that deviation from straight for the curvature. It's in the Earth curve calculator, obviously.
Hey, Georgie, I got a question. I was thinking about it the other day. I want to know, I want Rumpus to be on the end of this. And it's a shame that he was banned from here, because I would love to hear Nathan tie him up in knots on this one.
You would like us to go full circle, yeah? Go end up as it started.
He never got Earth is measured flat. We never brought that to his doorstep.
They already conceded. These guys already conceded. You think they're going to come back and concede again? No. They've learned the lesson. That's why they like to come here.
But see, the globe based its rhetoric in we measure Earth flat, but we also measure curvature. We have a paradox in which we're measuring both. So it could be both. We have to figure out through another means, and that's when they invoke science or
space, pictures from space.
Yes, that will also do. Bottom up obstruction, that's the thing. Flat earthers, as far as I know, were never arguing from the positive position. They were always trying to debunk a claim.
That's correct.
Until 2024.
I'm going to say before that, I'm sorry. I don't care what Nathan says. When the Black Swan came out, that was it.
Well, the Black Swan effectively ended the idea that there was opposing measurements because of its logical consistency. That is a fact. You no longer can claim measurement of curvature.
Okay, so if they have no curvature, then what is it then? Then the name of it is Flat Earth Debate. We're debating the nature of Earth. So we stripped you of your ball, so therefore it is flat.
Well, I said that remember, their rhetoric includes flat Earth measurements, but they also believe it includes measurements of sphericity. We have taken away the sphericity. And I didn't understand 3 years ago how to articulate that to people. That's why I immediately became a flat earther.
Man, I would have loved to have been in your mind when that was happening.
No, that was horrible. And that's why I feel so bad for most of these guys. It was horrible. It was like being schizophrenic. Is what it felt like. I was arguing with myself.
Well, I was thrilled when I found out. I was amazed by it. I was over the moon, in other words.
When I came to terms with it, I was amazed. But at first, I mocked and ridiculed my brother and brought him, but I couldn't find nothing. I found evidence of a globe. They were telling me to climb up a tree. Are you kidding me? That's the only evidence of a globe you can give me? It was stupid things like that.
Yeah, and in 2024, we point out that the claim that if you climb up a tree, you'll observe Earth curve is actually a claim of a differential calculation between eye level and surface level. You'll need a flat Earth to climb up that tree and claim you can see a globe below the surface level calculable to claim there's a globe edge to see when you climb the tree.
Very good.
Right, but you're applying knowledge we have now to an argument we had then.
Yeah.
They thought that they were measuring curvature by changing their elevation. Or I did. I ain't going to say what they did. I did. I thought if I changed my elevation and I changed the amount of curvature I see, what else could it be?
Yeah, if you're standing up watching the sunset and then you lay down, you watch the sunset again. That's the claim. But that up and down is in relationship to the plane. Yeah, and the sun's movement is in relationship to the horizontal plane, the horizon.
Well, see, that's the thing. We're applying knowledge we have now to back then, and that's not really fair to us and our standards, right? It is a legitimate
reiterating the
criticism.
argument is not good.
What was that, George? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I mean, reiterating the argument or verbalizing it better, it's no good, you say.
Right. Well, the thing is, our understanding has grown past the need of debunking a measurement we've already debunked. Now we know what they're actually measuring. It's over. We don't even have to point at the horizon and say that's not Earth curve. You're not measuring Earth curve.
One celestial navigation. When 10 started breaking it down and we got a hold of it, that's it. It's over. It's done. Game, set, match.
You say it was game, set, match, but it took me a year to get it, Neil.
Yeah, because, John, you have that kind of mind. I'm very simple. As Tent was laying it down and showing, the books and the pictures, it just resonated with me, and I clicked. Especially when he started breaking down the circles of equal altitude, and when you had to plot 3 stars, all I kept seeing was lots and lots and lots of flat. So, it's over there. There's no ball.
Yeah, but there's curvature on the circle. It's called the circle of equal altitude.
Go on, George.
Yeah, Neil, while you're seeing this huge flat plane and how much of it can be known, I was still arguing with the measurement. I'm sorry. It was a failure on my part.
There is curvature on the circle of equal altitude. It's called a circle. So.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
And they do this very often. It's either on the 60 nautical miles per degree, which is the circle of equal altitude. And then somehow that circle is going to transform into a sphere. So from 2D it goes to 3D. It doesn't work like that. The latitude, it's a circle of equal altitude. It doesn't make the Earth a sphere at all. It's a circle. They are convoluting these two things on purpose, obviously.
Right, but
that's why the 90-degree equal altitude.
But the reason they're convoluting it is because they're still not understanding the measurement. A calculation is solely understanding of a relationship between measurements, right? That's what it is. The calculation is utilization of measurements to build a greater understanding of the world that you live in. They don't understand the measurement. How can they understand the calculation? It's impossible.
Yeah, and that's the best proof anyone can have, is to go out and about and actually measure.
Well, you don't even have to do that. They'll bring the measurements with them and be proud of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the beauty of a measurement is that anyone can repeat it.
Yeah, they'll bring you measurements that you can repeat, like sticks and shadows. They'll be like, look, I'm measuring the elevation angle of the sun, and it's at 30 degrees. Now let's calculate how much the Earth is tilted between this 30-degree measurement and this 90-degree measurement, and I can tell you how spherical the Earth is. Now we see a huge problem with that, don't we?
Yeah, so it's embedded in the language. The arc minute, the arc second, arc. From a horizontal plane, you mean?
What you guys are saying, they bring you the guns, the silver bullets, all you gotta do is shoot them with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they don't have any measurement in which to argue with now, right? Prior to 2020, if you would have pointed out the Earth is measured flat, they would have just said, well, they're doing it now. Well, duh, it's so big it's flat, right? But we have measurements of its curvature. Let's look at those. Do you understand, like, the position they're coming from is what I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah, it would be 90 degrees to the surface, but the Earth is not a sphere.
But if thousands or even maybe some millions of surveyors are measuring the local flat, where's the curve in there?
There's not. You're right. There's not. It's just flat. It's only ever measured flat. The thing is, when they say locally flat, they realize that's a measurement. But they also think in their minds, when looking at the horizon, they can measure curvature there as they increase in elevation.
How?
Because if you were standing on a sphere, I hate going into if, right? And you went up or out from the center of that sphere, you could see more of that sphere.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you.
Right. And you would geometrically, the circumference of that sphere would fall away at a rate from your eye.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. It's called dip correction.
You lost me.
But it's not. It's not a geometric obstruction, though. You see where the false equivalence in this is happening? On a sphere, as you move away from the center of the sphere, the geometric obstruction will lower away from your eye level or your eye line, 90 degrees from the center of that sphere. The geometric obstruction will get lower and you will be able to see more of the sphere. The thing is, right, it's not a geometric obstruction. That was debunked with the black swan.
Right.
So you're not measuring that. It's not a valid point of contention. You're not measuring curvature because it's not a geometric obstruction to assert curvature.
Yeah, but they also claim that Dal Bruni didn't measure the geometrical horizon, was within 5% of the geometrical horizon.
Yeah, off a flat plane.
The geometrical horizon is not visible. Yeah, exactly. Even for that excuse, you're going to describe it with a flat plane.
Right. Think about what they're saying, though, in their minds. He measured curvature. The amount of curvature he measured was within 5% of the amount of curvature that he should have seen. We're talking about an issue of accuracy at that point, right?
Yeah, that's where refraction comes in.
Yeah, off a flat plane.
See, we know that now, Neil. You know, nobody was arguing that at the time, were they?
No.
No.
Right. So our understanding grew because of the debate we had with people of the opposing side. They've just not accepted it. You know, it's like they want to keep it, but deny it.
Yeah, they need to straighten that curve. It needs to be flat. It needs to be a bigger sphere. Seven over 6 of the radius of that set sphere. Yeah, straightening it up.
Right, but that's why I said we shouldn't be arguing about what it's not anymore. You know, we should be stating what it is, because they measure the same thing we measure, right? They measure it flat too. They tell us that all the time. It's locally flat. It's flat in this area. It's so big it's flat.
And just
they measure that.
Yeah.
So hold on. So we should be asking them, all right, let's talk about measurements. Right?
Yes. Yes. Because it is a what is topic, correct? What is the Earth?
Okay, so let's talk about measurements. We measure Earth flat. Now, show me how you measure Earth a globe.
You can't anymore. There's no valid point of contention to where you could even convolute measurement.
No. I'll give you the flat Earth. I'll give you the flat Earth.
I remember
I'll give you a flat Earth for my proof of my sphere. Yeah.
I think that was conspiracy cats. I could be wrong.
That was also that was also the dawning of my realization as well. You know, when QE pointed out, "Oh, you'll give us the flat Earth," you know, like I knew it. We all know these things. We know it. We measure it.
Hey, the day that QE came in and was asking Nathan, saying, "Do you know why conspiracy cats said they'll give you the flat Earth?" As he was saying it, it clicked immediately. I was like, trying to hit the mute button and say, because he had to. Oh, that was classic.
Yeah, Zanuck did the same. Obviously, I'm going to use a horizontal plane.
But why do they have to do that? I mean, we know it's because it's flat, but why do they have to give us that?
Because that's the only way they can start working their measurements to a globe.
There are no measurements to a globe now.
Yeah, but you have a size, right? That's how we made it. Isn't that how they turned it into a globe? Isn't it that they made the globe from flat Earth elevation angles from Polaris? Right? So you have to start flat.
Right. But they measure it flat too. They have to give us that. You see what I'm saying? They're not going to deny measurement. They believe that measurement and calculation is science. They are not going to fight it.
Yeah, they can't, because it's part of their rhetoric, isn't it? Andrew Thomas Young, all of these guys were describing all the measurements being made on a plane. If that is the genesis of all of it, the sticks and shadow, the angle of elevation, it's the genesis.
That's the only way it could be measured on a plane. It couldn't measure it any other way.
Right. But now listen to my description and the way that I give it. I will not mention level or horizontal, right? I won't mention anything except for in and out. If you are against a sphere and you move out from the center of that sphere, the geometric obstruction will move 90 degrees from in and out from the center of that sphere. It will fall away from that point, depending upon your distance from the surface of that sphere. it will increase as you move away from it. Now, that is a true statement. The problem is, how do you tie that to what we experience of Earth?
You can't.
Well, you used to could, Neil. You called it the horizon.
I'm not following.
When the horizon was Earth curve, the whole point of this is, how does the black swan change things? Well, when the horizon was claimed to be a physical capable of measurement, geometrical in nature, they had a measurement to claim that Earth was being measured as a sphere. Yeah, Earth's so big it's flat when we actually do anything that's, really measuring anything. But when we look at the horizon and reify it into Earth curve, that's their justification. Well, without that, they don't have anything to juxtapose with the actual measurements of Earth. You've just got the flat measurements.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm stuck. I'm only thinking of what we know now.
I understand. It's an easy place to try to want to apply the knowledge you have now to an argument 4 years ago. But we just didn't understand it at the time, I don't think. Until QE formulated the modus tollens, the measurement was never denied by them. It was always asserted. And we argued against it, remember?
Yeah, once the radius of Earth was debunked, the curvature of Earth, that is. Yeah, our direction took a different turn. Now that this is done, let's look something else. And this is when the 10th man brought the sextant argument, navigation, celestial navigation, and the development of that. Otherwise, we would be still stuck on the curvature of Earth.
In the information the 10th brought forward, that's where I seen surface level. And remember, because he talked about the offing and how the offing was calculated when doing a dip correction. Does anybody remember those? He did like a week-long
I remember the offing, yes.
Yeah.
That's when I noticed surface level and what it actually was within the mathematics that I formerly believed was Earth curve mathematics.
Yeah, I have some of the pictures that he shared with everyone. Mainly chapter 6, the sextant, when it mentions the 90 degree at the horizon. Yeah. 10th man, shout out to 10th man.
Yeah. 10th, if you're listening, we all think about you all the time, man.
10th man will be back. I had a conversation. I told you. He gave me I got reprimanded. I got reprimanded by him. So
I won't be here, Neil. I won't be here.
Yeah, but you'll listen to the shows. You could join the chat. You could be a chat skank for the positive side.
Yeah, definitely. I always wanted to be a chat skank. It'll be on the re-upload, so.
Yeah, 10th man's always in them. No, I'm sorry. 10th man's in the live one. Sometimes he'll come in on the re-ups. I'll see him.
Yeah, God bless that man.
He got on me, man.
Yeah, you know how much crap I give 10th man for an entire year while he was just trying to educate us on what he was finding out?
I must have blanked that out because I don't remember.
Go back and listen to any episode. Remember when he's trying to talk to us about zenith and angles? And I was like, oh, yeah, the only time it represents a physical position is when it's a zenith 10th. What's your point? I remember it really clearly because I had to, what is that? Humility of having to swallow what you've just said.
Yeah, you can never be too full to swallow your pride.
Oh, God, it's horrible. It tastes like crap. And the thing is about swallowing your pride and admitting you're wrong, it's like it gives you energy to try to prove the person that proved you wrong. It's like you want to go after them. And I was like, oh, I want to get you on this next point you're going to bring up. That's not your point. It's just celestial navigation. I'm an idiot, really. But
funny thing is, I remember the first day he came in with it. Came on. Me and him used to be the first ones in when Nathan put up the link. I said, "What's up, 10th?" He said, "What's up? It's the year of the sextant." I'm like, whatever do you mean? What do you mean the year of the sextant? And that's when it all started happening. He explained that to me. I was like, what? Are you freaking kidding me?
2021.
Well, 2021 was more of the year of John annoying the shit out of 10th for almost a year.
No, but with that came great understanding. Remember, if you don't have that person nudging, you'll still get the information, but you get more information when you got somebody challenging it.
Up to a point, I agree. You know, there's a point at which you can no longer challenge something, though, before it becomes absurd. You know what I'm saying? And in some of those conversations, I descended into absurdity. And 10th was extremely kind and gentle with my understanding. And like I said, God bless him for being that way.
So what do we call it? I don't like to use the word evolve. The progression of flat Earth debate. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, really, if you're going to discuss this topic with anyone, sorry, buddy, I'll be with you in a sec. If you're going to discuss this with anyone, you should establish what kind of argument it is. Okay, it's a geometric argument. What's your measurements, right? First step.
Yeah, well, we got that through the progression of flat Earth debate. Now we have that. It progressed to this point where we now have a silver bullet winning argument, not even an argument, right? It's celestial navigation. Let's be honest. That's not an argument. That's a process. And like Nathan says, that process was used to create the known worlds or map the known world. Now they're known, but they were unknown at the time, right? I live in one of them, America.
Right, but our understanding and the world's understanding aren't necessarily the same thing. Prior to everyone believing it was a globe, it came down to measurement, to argue these things, and people have just forgotten.
Well, it's going to be a hard road to hoe. I mean, Nathan's plowing away, and we get rejected at some, like the land of the. I won't call them that. I'll call them Earth Awakenings. Don't want to stand no more. They made that clear. Politics Server welcomes us there. Now, If Nathan would get off his arse and get on Eddie Bravo, that's when you'll see a change, a rapid change in attitudes and understanding.
Earth Awakening said we're not allowed back there anymore.
No.
No, we chose to step away, but it's obvious that they're not. Listen, they were. When you start apologizing to people like Bacon and treating Nathan like he's a piece of crap, there's a problem. And the problem is not with us. The problem is with them. Well, they don't want to come to the understanding.
Well, right. It was my problem with 10. I just ask that you be patient with people that do not have the understanding that you have, and try to offer them the same patience that Kent offered me as best that you can. I know it's hard to do.
We tried. And we got warned that if this continues, we won't be welcome there. That's different. You were trying to get an understanding on it. They're not.
They are, Neil. It's just that the understanding they have contradicts the understanding you're trying to give them.
They're not. If you listen to S.E. Montreal, listen to it clearly, what he says. They are full of pride. They're okay. You don't have to fix us. We're doing all right, Nathan. Okay. Off you go.
Right.
Have fun.
Right. But the thing I'm saying, right, I'm trying to give you the understanding that the Globers will have in the room. You can get the Globers behind you against them if you do it with measurement. But just don't tell them it's going to be flat Earth measurements. You see what I'm saying?
John, you'll have people like Jeremy saying, well, Glober told me he could do it. He showed me circles and things. Yeah, like you. Have you ever done it? No, have you ever done it? Like,
that's irrelevant. You're not talking about the measurement. You're talking about whether someone took the measurement. It's about the measurement. Don't let them confuse it. The ballers will back you up on this. I promise you. So this is a geometric argument. I want to stick to measurement, and you will never have a baller argue that unless you've destroyed their measurements first.
Mr. Danny Faulkner, good afternoon. Mr. Danny Faulkner, good afternoon. Would you like to say hello? Or just listening? Mr. Danny Faulkner.
I'm just listening.
Mr. Faulkner, would you say it's fair to say that this discussion should solely be about measurement when you're talking about the shape of something?
I just dropped in a minute or so ago, so I don't know what you've been talking about.
We're talking about, if you're going to discuss the shape of Earth, it should only be about measurement. Now, just to be for clarity, if you're going to talk about the nature of reality, you have to bring in other aspects like science and things of that nature. But as far as shape goes, measurement kind of dictates that. Do you agree to that statement?
No.
I'm sorry, my daughter hit the button. Danny, did you say that you disagree that measurement dictates shape?
Yes.
Could you expand upon that, please?
Shape can be determined by a qualitative assessment. Something can look, you can look at it and get a sense of what shape it has. Measurement would only give you ideas of dimensions of the object.
Absolutely. But to transmit the information of that qualitative assessment, you need measurement, don't you?
No.
Then how will you describe something without it?
I know the shape of the top of my kitchen table at home, but I couldn't tell you what the dimensions are.
I agree 100%. Yes, you can. That's more of like you're qualifying that, right? But if you're going to talk about, say, the top of the table and how flat or bumpy it is, you would need measurement, right?
Then you would be quantifying something. I was referring just to the general shape, though. The table can be square, top can be square, it can be rectangular, it can be circular, it can be oval. In fact, I have 3 kitchen tables in my house. One is rectangular top, one's a circular top, and one is an oval top.
Right. And I'm not disagreeing on that. I'm just saying that you can't see all of Earth while you're standing on the Earth. How else will you communicate the information then if you can't see the entirety of it?
Measurements.
And even identifying shapes, you're doing
Everyone
geometry.
else be quiet. Everyone else, please be quiet.
Danny, did you hear what I said about not being able to see the entire Earth? So the example with the table isn't exactly analogous. Do you understand what I mean? It is possible.
Maybe lost connection.
I don't think so.
Well, he's not disagreeing with me. I'm trying to.
Yeah, he's talking about known shapes and visuals that we could see. Yeah, no kidding.
Right. You take its measure and then you can describe it conceptually without measurement. I do not disagree with that. We cannot do that with Earth. The only way we can address it is with measurement. I want to see if he agrees with that or not.
Measurements giving you a quantitative result is one way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it.
But with the Earth, how else would you do it since you can't see the entire thing to give the description?
You're not going to like my answer.
Let him speak. He's a PhD. Give him that. Mr. Faulkner, would you tell me what answer I wouldn't like to hear? I actually do want to hear it.
The shadow of an eclipse of the moon is always circular. Again, you're not going to accept that answer, but that is a very qualitative assessment.
Okay, yeah, I like that one. That's a good one, right? Because we're going to apply the our understanding of the celestial sphere to derive the angles to put the Earth between the sun and the moon to get a shadow, correct?
Hello.
Yes.
Do you know how the celestial sphere was created?
Yes.
Would you agree that it is observation and measurement created the celestial sphere?
Not so much measurement as it is just what we observe in the sky.
Well, we don't observe below the horizon because that is the demarcation point. So we're going to apply measurement at some point, correct, to get the rest of the celestial sphere, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, measurements can be used, but the qualitative assessment is that the sky that we do see above the horizon appears to be a hemisphere, and objects obviously rise and set, and so the implication is that objects pass below that horizon, giving you the other hemisphere below you.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if I actually disagree with you up to this point. I don't know if I do. I do know that the celestial sphere, it has a celestial refraction applied at a certain point above the horizon. So we have to be talking about measurement at some point with the celestial sphere. You realize that, right?
I'm sorry, I stepped out of the office for a moment. What would you repeat that?
Right. We apply celestial refraction to the sky, I think at 20 degrees above the horizon, to create or to conform what we see to the celestial sphere through what we call celestial refraction. So there has to be measurement at some point. You don't accept that?
We certainly can quantify these things. However, celestial atmospheric refraction is minimal. It's about a half degree at the astronomical horizon. And when you mentioned 20 degrees, by the time you get up to 20 degrees, it's extremely small, much too small for the eye to actually see.
Right, but it is a variant that is applied up to a certain degree, at which point it is no longer necessary to make what we observe conform to the celestial sphere.
atmospheric refraction is minimal. It was not really considered until fairly recent times. The celestial sphere is a concept that goes back more than 2,000 years. And I don't believe refraction was considered at all until well after the telescope was invented less than 400 years ago.
I apologize, Danny. My connection went bad for a moment, and I did not hear what you said. Could you please repeat that? I apologize.
That's fine. I said that atmospheric refraction has only been considered for maybe 300 years, if that long. The celestial sphere goes back about 2,000 years before that. So it's not necessary to consider atmospheric refraction when developing the model, if you will, of the celestial sphere.
Oh no, I agree. With the refraction, I don't know if I would call it terrestrial refraction, but I will say that the way refraction is applied is not applied the same way now as it was 2,000 years ago when it was first created. I agree to that. But you're saying that it has nothing to do with measurement, the creation of the celestial sphere.
No, there was no need for that. It was first a qualitative assessment of what the cosmology could be. And then later on, there were measurements built upon top of that. Hipparchus 2,200 years ago, he wasn't the first. There are people before him who were making measurements of stellar positions as well as the positions of the sun, the moon, and the planets. And that's where the quantitative assessment comes in. But it's built upon the model of the celestial sphere, which originally the model didn't require any kind of computation or measurements, just a qualitative assessment of what we see in the sky.
Well, I don't think that's absolutely true. I think that without
you're breaking up, John.
Come to the conclusion here.
Yeah, we didn't hear what that means. I heard that you disagree. Can you expand what you mean by qualitative assessment until we get John's line clear?
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't agree. Oh my goodness. Thank you, children. I love you all so greatly right now. I don't agree that you can create the celestial sphere without measurement, because the first thing you have to do is take elevation angles to create the celestial sphere.
Once you've adopted the model of the celestial sphere, you certainly can quantify things with altitude and azimuth and other sorts of measurements. But the invention of that model doesn't require any kind of quantitative measurements at all at the beginning. It's simply what can you do to build upon that model and make the model quantitative. But the model itself of the celestial sphere doesn't require measurements to make it so.
But the model is expressing relationships between angles to celestial objects.
Eventually, you can use the model to do that, but developing the model originally didn't require actually creating that. I believe the Greeks probably invented spherical trigonometry to be used on the celestial sphere, but they didn't invent that until the necessity of it arose with the model of the celestial sphere.
Well, sir, you're trying to tell us, though, that you have created a model without taking any measurements. Do you not see how that's contradictory?
I don't think you quite understand what a model is. A model doesn't have to have quantitative aspects to it, particularly when you're developing the model. Now, eventually you can add those quantitative things, but the initial conception does not require that. Kinetic theory of gases, for instance, is quantitative, but initial idea was not quantitative. It was simply an idea, and then they used the physics to develop that idea. So models don't have to be quantitative at their very beginning. Simply, you bring the quantity in to quantify what you can measure with the model.
So you're saying the model doesn't have to be quantitative at that point, but in recognition, you realize that until it becomes that, it's just an idea, and the modeling of itself is useless because you can't use the model until it's got the details in for you to use it. So I would accept the point that, yeah, at the initial conception of the model, you may not have made any measurements yet, and theoretically the model can exist in your mind. But for it to have any practical use, as in to navigate, measurements will be the first key thing. And that's how you're going to use the model, with measurements from the real world for predictive properties within the model. So I would concede, like John, yeah, at that initial concept of it, no measurement thing. But for it to be of any value, measurement is the beginning.
Adam, why are you looking at me? It has to be your education level.
That was brilliant.
But hold on. Oh, yeah, it's because you're English.
Hello. Shush. Go ahead, Danny.
There was another little bit I just heard as well, which I would take umbrage with.
Please be quiet.
Oh, stop!
So
let him give his measured response.
If you can't be quiet, I've got to summarise the point. Instead, I'd rather there be a protracted silence than me having to summarise the point by interjection, which I've now got to do. No, I won't. I'll pass back to you, Adam, to re-summarise the point I'm telling you to shush and leave a silence for. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had dropped. So the point I would say I would concede, yes. The initial conception of a model, in this case the celestial sphere model, no measurement has been made. But the conception of the model is to take measurements to figure out where you are. Yeah, its whole raison d'etre is to take a measurement from the real world, apply it into the model, take something back out of the model to give you information again for the real world. Without the use of measurement, the model has no ability to assist you.
I'm sorry, I need to go. I have an appointment coming up, and I need to eat lunch before that appointment. So I've enjoyed the interaction. Maybe we can pick it up at another time.
Yes, thank you. Should I call you Mr. Faulkner? How do you like to be addressed?
Danny's fine.
Thank you, Danny.
Cheers, Danny.
All right, bye-bye.
Oh,
hey, Nathan.
Danny, it was,
hold on, I didn't know that was Danny when I came in.
Danny, I would like to apologize. I've said some hateful things about you in the past.
Gone.
We'll have lunch.
Yeah, I don't know. What are you apologizing for? We didn't even get to the biblical stuff yet.
Hey, I will apologize. That was a
hold on a second.
Very good man to come in and have a discussion. I appreciate that about him, Neil.
Yes, I did not know it was him when I came in. When I said anytime today, I thought you were talking to some guy named Danny. So I did not know it was Danny Faulkner. I would have never interjected. But we didn't even get into the biblical stuff yet. And if talking to a PhD is going to be like that, I don't even want to talk to him. What, are you going to wait 2 minutes for him to answer it?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Yes. You absolutely have to give a PhD measured time to give a response. It is only fair.
Measured time to look up stuff.
No. You couldn't agree with. No, don't want to hear any favoritism crap when I agree with John. Absolutely. If he needs 3 minutes to give a measured response, he's gonna get it with total silence in between, and I'll afford him that and shut down the last person to have made a good point. So when I'm like, shh, Adam's made his point. He's heard it. Yeah. Now, if there's a 3-minute silence, so be it.
Yeah, Adam made a great point, which caused him to go to lunch.
Well, that's why.
Excellent, Adam.
Yeah,
that was brilliant.
Yeah, now that that's happened, with a protracted silence with him here, then ducking out after the silence because he's got to have lunch, that in and of itself speaks volumes, Neil. And we can discuss it all day after it has happened. But if you start discussing it while it's happening, that's really irritating in the edit. If you know what I mean.
We didn't do that, though. Hold on. We didn't do that, though.
Yeah, you did. I had the line,
Neil.
Neil, when I edit it, you watch your line open, you blabber your mouth, and nothing come out because I've got the line closed. So you didn't get the opportunity to do what you're now denying doing.
That's not
Furthermore,
even
while
true.
you're now rumpusing me. Furthermore, when I opened the line back up, John was telling you off.
No, because I did not know it was Danny at that time. Once he said it's a PhD, and then you came in, I did not open my fucking line at all.
Stop swearing, please.
Don't give me that shit. I did it, though. I don't mind when I get ridiculed for something I did, but don't say I did something when I didn't. You accused me today of John. Stop, Neil, and it was John. Once I heard it was Danny, I closed my freaking line.
And I said, when there was an interruption, I thought it was you. It was outrageous. Then I found out it was John, and it was all cool. What's the problem?
Oh, shut up, Nathan.
I love you, Neil.
I love you too.
But
there was another point.
I want to get to Adam's point.
Okay.
That was brilliant, Adam.
It was.
I was sitting here cheering.
Ruined only.
To reality.
Ruined only by Adam himself when he couldn't keep his trap shut.
I didn't know that was going off either. I've been trying. I had no idea that was Danny.
Exactly.
And I thought the line had gone. These lines keep dropping. Your speaking was coming up, but no sound was coming out. That's why you saw me drop and come back. So I didn't know that's what you were managing. I kind of figured that a bit too late, but yeah, I was a little oblivious too.
Look, softly.
I do.
He's come in, and he's had all the time in the world to think that will get shorter with time. Now he knows that, they're not just going to rumpus the living crap out of me and make conclusions in my ponderance. Now he knows that we'll offer him a fair amount of respect, right? That's what's been demonstrated to him in his visit today, right? He tentatively came in, I'm just listening, first words he's ever said, and then he engaged in conversation after declaring he didn't clearly want to. He's just listening. Okay, well, at least your mic works. Then he gets a question, he engaged in conversation, probably got other things on, like other people who potentially, without his position, join and don't say anything. Well, you can't quite get away with that when you're a note as a personality. Who's opening their line? Go ahead, John.
Hey, Neil, what I was going to say is I was trying to get him to a point, and Adam got him to that point. Adam, could you reiterate that point that you kind of had him stuck with?
No, can I reiterate it and take ownership of it? It's like it's mine. That would be much better.
Yeah, go on. Because it's John anyway.
Go ahead, Adam.
It wasn't my point. I was listening to where John was leading it, and I could hear him floundering. And he was stating that the model doesn't have to have measurement in it. But I'd say for the the model to have any purpose, its design is to input measurement into the model. So I would concede to him that at the point of the initial conception and idea of the celestial sphere, no measurement had been made yet. But for the idea of a celestial sphere and navigation to have any value or practical purpose, measurement is the key. It is the primary input into his model to get information for the real world out.
Oh, God, I love you. I love you. I was trying to get him there. It was actually me that was floundering. Thank you for saving me.
Yeah, it was a hard connection to make because you've got to appreciate where's he going, because he's not just going to be outright wrong, which at the surface level it seems like this can't be right. To suggest that you can have a celestial sphere model without measurement at all seems absurd, but he's not so stupid as to just declare that and be able to be called out without justification. So you've got to read between the lines without being seen to be stupid yourself for asking. Yeah? So Adam's just come along and gone, okay, how can it work that you don't need measurements in order to have a conceptual model? Well, the guy who comes along who says, maybe we could measure out the angles to this and put it into a sphere. Okay, well, that's an idea that doesn't have any measurements yet. So Adam summarised that position and then juxtaposed it with the actual useful nature of having a celestial sphere in the first instance to apply anything into or to take anything out of that's useful in relation to Earth. So Adam had the concise summary to take him away from his, no, the starting point is just an idea in a guy's head with no measurements. Which was reasonably clever of him, let's be honest.
And no use in reality, like Adam said.
Hold on. There is a use in reality, okay? Now, let's take Adam's point and apply it to what he said about the Earth casting a shadow on the moon. We need measurement to be able to make that statement.
Right, that's what Adam said.
Yeah, but that's no. That's not what Adam said. That's where it would have led if it had stayed here. Because the whole purpose of this was John led him onto, well, where's your evidence? If we haven't got any positional information because we're viewing from the outside in, like with an example of a tabletop, how do we do this without measurement? Right? That's where he's taking him. And he says, you won't like my answer. I'm going to use the eclipse. Now, what John is then going to attempt to lead him on to, which is where this was inevitably going, was your description of flat Earth angle descriptions in an orbital motion, which is a flat plane of reference making a shadow on the moon. Where this was actually going, Neil, was the minus sign eclipse. That's where John was. He was bold, right? We didn't have enough time, and he ducked out too soon. That's where it would have gone had John have been given all the leeway and he'd have stayed here. That's where it would have ended up, right, John? Hell yeah, brother.
If you're talking about phases of the moon are described as a measurement, as a percentile of the whole, and then which way it's going, waxing or waning. But it's a 75% waning moon today. That's not a measurement.
But no, he wasn't describing that. He was describing the angular relationship between the sun, the earth, and the moon to cast a shadow upon the moon. You need a model and you need measurement to give you that information.
Right, and the model he's using is the celestial sphere, which is a flat plane of reference with a hemispherical view, North Pole centric, and sandwiched beneath it antipodal, a South Pole, if we had one, centric system to give you antipodal minus sign in a celestial sphere model that you can then reify into orbital motion and put one between the other so it occults and gives you a shadow. But what's causing the shadow if the measurement of the origin of the orbital motion claim is the celestial sphere measurement, which is where John was taking him at that stage? Well, then it's an antipodal flat plane, one on top of the other, giving you the shadow. Right, John?
Yes, it's his own claim that gets in the way of his own claim.
Yeah, you can't use celestial navigation to invoke the phases of the moon. Doesn't certainly with a shadow created by the Earth. That's not in celestial navigation.
Right, but he's not talking about the phases of the moon. He's talking about an
eclipse.
Eclipse, yes, sir. Which he will distinguish.
Then no. So if he's going to then go to like anything to predict an eclipse, then it would be black bodies. So within the ephemeris, positions are predicted by Orion and K2. The black bodies are when they interact with the sun and the moon. So if you're going to cite celestial navigation, you're going to have to refer to an ephemeris, which is going to invoke Orion K2.
Oh, right.
No. No.
I was going to say, that sounds wrong.
Hold on. Within the celestial sphere model, you can show an angular relationship between the sun and what you can describe as a shadow on the moon, in which the Earth is between those two positions relative to the flat plane.
It's not. It never is it?
He's not saying it is. He's saying that's the mathematical description from a derivation if you use the celestial sphere, which they do. You're saying it's from the ephemeris and it's Rahu and Ketu. And I'm going, really?
Yeah. That's how they're predicted. The black bodies go across. Right? There's no point in an ephemeris where the Earth is lining up to create eclipse events. It's not how they're described. They're nodes.
But you're not addressing the claim as he made it. He said he used the celestial sphere to determine these positions, to give the angular relationship, to cast the shadow of the Earth upon the moon. That might have been the part you missed at the beginning of the conversation, because that's why I was trying to get into measurements so desperately.
That's exactly what he said. And I know you were going to the minus sign. That's your move. I know that. That's a checkmate move.
The Earth's not there in the celestial sphere model. You could take flat Earth measurements applied in a celestial sphere, and then take those measurements and put them into the heliocentric model, and then place the Earth there. But you can't do it with just celestial. No, it's not there.
No, and he's not suggesting it is. He's saying that's what Danny's doing.
Yeah.
Right. But to do it, he needs the measurements of the plane of reference relative to the position of these objects in the sky to assert the Earth is creating the shadow. He's got to measure Earth flat.
Yeah, or to put it another way, you need a flat plane for orbital motion. It's that argument.
You need a flat plane for the solar system, and yeah, I guess that it is related to that. Yeah.
Do you think Danny picked up on that?
The derivation
where you were trying no way, right?
The derivation comes from celestial sphere to globe Earth in orbital motion, all derived from the same flat plane. Yeah, I'm not going to rehash the video that is orbital motion needs a flat plane, but that is the long and short of it, isn't it? So therefore, for him to put Earth in an orbital motion, he's going to be deriving his claims that have been developed from the celestial sphere into heliocentrism from the original measurement of a flat plane.
Yes. And Adam got him to make that connection that I needed to make that next friggin' point with his claim. And he left. I was like, I'm frustrated with my kids.
I think he left because Adam dodged the curveball. He threw in a curveball that I hadn't spotted. Nobody had, except Adam. Maybe you had, John. But his actual curveball, he hadn't specifically verbally stated, which is, no, what I'm going to say is, at the point of conception, mental conception, there's no measurements. That was his actual position. He just didn't overtly state it. He's slippery. Nice to know what we're dealing with. Adam spotted it. Kudos. He doesn't get props for where he was being led and why the argument was what it was. That's all John. But to spot it and summarise it so concisely in the moment, only to then slightly ruin it by going, have I lost my line? No, there's a very protracted silence from Danny Faulkner. But you didn't know that.
Yeah,
so.
There's a PhD in the house that's got to get all the respect in the world.
Yeah.
And a full 5 minutes if needed. Anyway.
Yeah. Neil. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just poking you.
Hold on.
Wait.
Yeah,
it's interesting that they're coming out
he's
now.
got verbal diarrhea now. I can't shut up. Yes, Neil. Yes, we've goaded him into actually bloody talking to us for about 18 months. Yeah, now he's actually opened his trap. It'd be good if we didn't just hear you through the top of him.
You never heard me through the top of him.
No.
One time. I said any time, and I'm not going to explain this again. I did not know it was Danny. I left my car to get gas. When I came back in, I was talking to John when I left.
Get to the end of this quickly. Yeah, we love you, Neil. You're great.
Anyway, all I wanted to say was it's funny how they're starting to come in. It's like they can't handle it. They got to come in and say something. But when they're coming in, they don't even know what they're in for.
Right. And thanks to Adam now, we have a direct connection between their conceptualization and measurement that they cannot deny because of Danny's slippery behavior and Adam's so eloquent assessment in the moment. But it does not take away from the man's accomplishments of spending, that much time and money learning about this subject. He deserves the chance to think about what he's going to say to people that he knows is against him.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back and listen to that. Oh, I'm a member. I could do that soon.
Yeah, check it out if you are a member. But with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for smashing the super chat, liking, sharing, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.